Hi everybody, welcome back to Valhallagames. In this episode of our podcast, as you may be able to tell from our title, we're going to look forward with 2020 vision to the future that is now. Now we are in 2020. But before we do that, we're going to look back as well. Rex and I are going to look back over the year that was. We're going to talk about a few of our favourite things. And before we go forward and talk about an event that we had right at the end of 2019 each, and look forward maybe for a few things to 2020. So Rex, you with me here?
I'm with you. I've got 2020 vision. I'm ready for it.
Great. Okay, so let's look back first, Rex, before we jump into the present and the future. So, man, there was a whole lot came out in 2019, wasn't there? A whole lot of releases, whole lot of products, whole lot of, I guess, expansions, a whole lot of games. There's a whole lot of stuff hit the storefront and was unloaded into the gamers last year, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was my Wargame butterfly-ness. Definitely went into overdrive, and I diverted into a few things that weren't bolt action, which was both good and bad because you've only got a limited amount of time, so you want to spend that on the things that are most fun. But my idea of most fun keeps changing.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So, if we had a bit of a list, so I'm gonna hit you with some questions here. I know we've sort of off the cuff talked about some of these, and hopefully you've put some thought into them because I'm gonna hit you with a few things, and I hope you're ready for them. So if I said to you, what was your favourite rules, as in rule set, or favourite expansion to a game that we've played so far in 2019, what would you hit me with?
That's an easy one. Fortress Budapest, the campaign supplement
Oh,
for bolt action.
good. Okay, why?
Well, firstly, it was incredibly well written. Secondly, I was looking forward to it for a long time, and we gave it a bit of a plug on the website as well on valhallagames.net. And then when it finally arrived, it was bright, primed, ready to go, and I actually read it through rather than most of them. I kind of have a quick flick through, put it on the shelf, and go, "Hey, I'll get to that when I get a chance. That'll be great to play one day, sometime in the future." So I actually read it through, and just the cohesion of the way that the campaign was put together, and a map. It had a map, Dan, a map.
Yeah, good. And you actually lived the experience, didn't you? Because you actually went to Brian Cook's Day, as we've talked about in one of our previous podcasts.
Yeah, that's right. So not only did I get the book and I enjoyed it, but I had the opportunity to go and play campaign Fortress Budapest Day with the author himself. And that was a fantastic day. A bunch of great guys in Sydney, Australia there. And I just really enjoyed it. I created a brand new army for it as well. So new army list, new painting, new colours that I'd never worked with before. New theatre, new season. Never done a winter army before. So it was just all good, all good.
Good. And did it really deliver what you were looking for? And did it really live up to the hype, I guess?
It absolutely did. Yeah, I really loved the scenarios that were well written, lots of fun, lots of variety, and just all round a perfect gaming experience, I guess. I can't wait to actually get my gaming table back together again from its out of action being serviced currently. But when it comes back into full action again, I'll be looking forward to actually playing some more Fortress Budapest because I feel there's unfinished business there. My Soviets.
Good. All right. Guess what? Guess what I've got for my favourite rules or expansion release 2019.
Well, it would be a bit of a surprise, but because you just the way you laughed, it's not Fortress Budapest, is it?
It really is, yeah.
Oh
Um,
no.
and I'm going to tell you why. Firstly, I think you're right. It did live up to the hype. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Like I was really looking forward to the Western Desert book coming out, which I think was the end of 2018. Um, and I was quite disappointed with it actually. And then the Fortress Budapest came out, and luckily some of our other podcast or some podcast celebrities out there in the world did the down order and stuff like that. Did great stuff on the I guess on revealing some ideas and some concepts that Brian was having in interviews with him, and it was fantastic when we got it. And also, I'd like to throw this idea in the ring. Almost every expansion that we've ever had for Bolt Action, people look back on and say, "Oh God, that idea came out of there." Like we have the shoots in the squad from the Western Desert. Oh God, we're not allowed that. That's a crazy idea, and people complaining about it. So looking back on Brian Cook's expansion there, he and Warlord, whatever people also contributed to it, and people have helped Brian. He's not only delivered something that's themey, something where we had loads of visual stuff, fantastic scenery, thanks to Akhtar and the guys. And we've had
and the painting. Don't forget the painting. Oh my
so we've got
gosh!
full ideas on how to paint stuff coming out of it, and Brian's blogs and stuff like that. We've also got a bunch of army lists that have added something completely different or tweaked things in Soviet and Hungarian and stuff like that. Romanian expanded on things, and I haven't heard one single grumble come out of the army lists that were in that book.
Nope, neither have I. And as far as the miniatures go, Hungarian army stuff's still being released. It's January 2020, and only 2 weeks ago I got the Wargames email, and there was something new for Hungary in that as well, I think.
Yeah, the mace throwers just come out, and I think maybe pack 40 or pack 38, one of those is out for them as well. So yeah, absolutely. So that's it's quite a hard case. We both chose the same thing, but I think we've got some really good reasons why there. And yep, fantastic release. I'm glad we all enjoyed it.
Yep, yeah, it is funny because as you remember last year, the favourite miniature we completely independently, seriously, people, no collusion there whatsoever. We chose the same miniature of all the miniatures that were released in 2018. We chose the same one, and all the game supplements of all the games of all the gin joints, we chose this one.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so that's something that we do play. So I'm going to hit you with another one then. So what was the most attractive, shiny thing, I guess you'd call it, from a game that you don't play? Could be a miniature, could be expansion. What was your favourite shiny thing that is new in 2019 for you?
Well, it's Lord of the Rings by GW. I just love those miniatures, and I love that book as well. Now, I haven't bought it yet, but oh my gosh, the miniatures are just amazing. The book was amazing. I watched a couple of guys on YouTube playing games and particularly reviewing the books, and I really like that game system. I mean, I've always loved Lord of the Rings ever since back in the day. I heard it on the radio when I was for the very first time when I was traveling through England, backpacking through England. Heard it on the radio, and I was like, "What's this all about?" I've heard of The Hobbit, but I never really heard of Lord of the Rings. And I really bit into that. That was fantastic. To be able to play that, wow, that looks really nice. It's fairly expensive, Dan. I'm not really. I don't know if I'm up to Games Workshop pricing, but I really like that. It looks good.
They've done a great job of breathing life into it again. In the very, very late 99 and then start of 2000, we started getting whispers of them getting the IP, the rights to create the miniatures and stuff from New Line, and started, seeing the odd movies still in the back of White Dwarf and stuff like that. People weren't too sure what was going to go on. I mean, we've had Lord of the Rings miniature stuff before, but the miniatures they put up were brilliant. The game was solid as. And then after the movies, it just sort of drifted away. And then a few years ago, Forge World started to breathe life into it again. But to me, I think you're right. Like they've done a fantastic job of bringing it back to life again. And man, the Rohan scenery that they put out. I mean, whatever about the miniatures, because we've seen many of them before. Not all of them. They're continuing to release new stuff, but the Rohan miniature scenery they put out was just mind blowing. There was a guy that I subscribed to as so if anyone wants to find this guy's channel, Zorp, I think it is. We subscribe to it, so you'll be able to find it off our YouTube channel, Valhallagames, and the stuff the guy's creating with that is just brilliant. It's right up our alley in a fantasy way. Trying to recreate some of the stills of the movie, but he's also breathing some life into it just from stuff he's read in the books as well, not just off the movie IP. It's great, isn't it, Rex?
Yeah, it is really, really, it's great. And interestingly, that guy, because you sent me the link to that review for the Rohan Village or whatever it was, and he also had another review reviewing one of the rule books, and I was watching it, and my mind was just boggling because he was going, well, when this character came out of the forest in the second movie about, and he did this, and it's not quite represented like that in the book, but I think they've done a good job of. So that guy is a serious Lord of the Rings guy. He knows his Lord of the Rings of the movies, at least. Anyway, I was highly impressed.
Yeah, I believe he's Australian. There's a whole vlog of in a couple of parts when he comes to New Zealand and goes all around the Lord of the Rings tours to all the places here in New Zealand, otherwise known as Middle Earth, which is something you guys enjoyed when you came over last year or the year before, isn't it, Rex?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if you get the chance, go to New Zealand. There's places that you probably could visit, and there's places that would be nice to visit. But the place that you absolutely must visit is the Lord of the Rings movie set, or Hobbiton. It's kind of in the north/centre of the North Island. For those of you who don't know your New Zealand geography. It's within striking distance of Auckland International Airport, which is the biggest city, absolutely amazing. I kind of expected. I said to my wife, when we go along to this movie set, prepare for it to be crazy expensive and prepare to be underwhelmed, and then you won't be disappointed.
Right.
Yeah, that's my pessimistic side coming out. Oh my gosh, I could not believe it. I could not believe how good it was. And I'm a pretty keen photographer. I had my photo, and often when you go to these things, you get a great photo of Stonehenge with 20 people standing all around it, or you get a great photo of whatever bridge with people in the way. All of my photos had 0 people in them, and the photos came out really great, and it was just fantastic. And the way that they conducted themselves, and my daughter has a disability, the way they looked after my daughter in terms of getting her around for somebody that was mobility impaired, beyond reproach. It was fantastic. Really great day. It's expensive, don't get me wrong. We couldn't afford to go to the Green Dragon Inn for dinner, but we definitely had our Green Dragon Inn ale, and I definitely highly recommend it to everybody else. There you go. There's a bit of a diversion for you. But,
good.
It's good stuff for sure.
Tangenting in a good way. That's what we're here for. Great.
Yeah. What about you? Most attractive shiny thing. Now, I know that you're a bit of a shiny thing. You're a bit of a magpie. You're definitely after shiny things. I've seen the stuff that you've been buying that's been coming via email. Hey, I've just bought this. Hey, I've just bought this. Hey, I've just bought this. So for you to actually lock it down to one shiny thing, I don't know how it's going to go.
Yeah, well, this is from a game we don't play, of course, so that's a big thing. But the most attractive shiny thing for me this year has been a couple of the miniatures from the Wargames Judge Dredd miniatures game. And in particular, the Judge Dredd on his Lawmaster bike, but the one that stands out for me is Judge Dredd with Judge Death swirling around him in his ethereal sort of form, which is the free miniature that comes with the Judge Dredd rulebook. And I was a big 2000 AD, but more so Judge Dredd and Rogue Trooper fan when I was young. And that miniature of Judge Death coming around Judge Dredd is absolutely jaw-dropping for me. I wish I could invest the money and to buy it. I'll have to keep an eye out somewhere online or maybe eBay or something to see if I can pick up someone's random copy. But I just can't believe that anyone would buy the Judge Dredd rulebook and not want the Judge Dredd miniature that comes with it. But have you seen that, Rex?
I hadn't, but I've just tried my Google Foo here while you're explaining it, and I've just pulled it up now. And yeah, it is an impressive miniature. I still don't know how they do those negative cuts with the sculpt with the casting, but anyway, yeah, it's really great. It's very comic book-ish.
Yep.
It's very Judge Dredd, which why would you expect anything else? But we know, Dan, that you are probably the biggest geek.
Yeah, I am.
Ever lived.
But I don't think I'd invest in the game because of various reasons. If I invest in the game, I'd be playing somewhere in Cursed Earth or something, somewhere where you could get the terrain to be pretty specific with it. That's sort of like a Badlands sort of a thing, Rex, and anyone else there who doesn't, if you don't know about it, rather than on the streets of actually the megacity, because the megacity architecture and stuff is so iconic, really, I suppose, and it's such a big scale. You could have it sort of at street level and have buildings that were less iconic, but yeah, I'd probably end up in the Cursed Earth or something like that. But yep, that's a genuinely shiny thing from a game I don't play, but man, I just look at that miniature and just be like, oh wow, because I remember the storylines of Judge Death and Judge Anderson and Dredd trying to outwit him, and and the other evil judges that come with them. I think it's Judge Fear or something like that. So there was 3 judges, as I can remember, that were sort of based around Judge Death. So yeah.
I don't know what happened with that. I must have missed it. It must have come out when I was in between ages or something, because I knew of it, and I think I had a couple of comics, but yeah, I never really got into it in a big way. But it's a nice mini for sure, and nicely painted too. Actually, looks like GW contrast paints, to be honest.
Yeah. All right.
I got one for you. You ready?
Oh, good. Yeah, hit me with it.
Okay. Favorite holiday publication that you read in 2019? So not a rule set, well, necessarily, but something like a magazine or a terrain book or something like that.
Okay. I'm going to cheat here because... Or am I? Yeah, I will. I'll cheat. Ha. Very good. So good, in fact, I'm going to have to cheat. All right, so I'm going to get you 2. One is a regular publication. I have really appreciated Wargames Soldiers and Strategy this year. I think some of their themes have been brilliant, and I've really, really appreciated them. And I've found that a lot of the scenarios in there meant for other time periods or whatever, I've really been looking at them and going, how could that change over to games that we're playing or something like that. So I've really appreciated that. Even though I can't get it here in New Zealand, I have got a few when I've either visited you or when I have seen one I've liked, I've sent away for it and either got it in PDF or got the actual physical copy sent to me occasionally. So that's one thing.
Before you move on to your second thing, I find that quite funny because you were always a Wargames Illustrated guy up till last year, because of the glossy pictures and the fantastic photography and everything else. And I sort of said to you, WSS, it's a great book. There's lots of good content in there. And so you're a convert now, yeah?
Well, I think that I haven't got any basis for believing that this is so, but I believe they're putting more pictures in. Um, I personally believe that the pictures are more interesting. I think they've got more how I built that type things in there. Like if I go back to and this wasn't this year, I don't think. I don't think it was this year. The Fallschirmjäger issue, which I think it was, 2000.
Issue 100. Yep. I don't know
Yeah,
when that was, but that's the best. That's the best Wargaming magazine issue that I've ever read. That was really a nice job.
yeah. If I have a look up here on my up here on my shelf and see what I can find.
You know what? I'm pretty sure it was about January
That
or
that
February
is it. It was
that it
this year.
dropped.
It was
Yeah.
this year. Yep, February March 2019.
Yep. Because
Rise
I
and
had to.
Fall of the Green Devils. That's the greatest Wargames magazine issue of any Wargames magazine I've ever looked at.
Yeah, because I had to go and buy it at the shop. Remember, and post it over to New Zealand so you could have it.
Yep, yep,
And I
it
bought
was
one for
great.
myself as well.
And there was another favourite I had, which is issue 104, which is about I guess the Dutch towns of Overloon and Venray, and it also talks about the Cuckoo, the Allies seizing a Panther tank and using it in those battles. Really, really good. And I just think that it's meeting somewhere. I think they're improving what I'm interested in, and they're retaining what they do best. Is a good way for me to explain it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's great. The reason that I prodded you about switching is I'll give you mine now before we go on to your number two. My favorite hobby publication for 2019 is Wargames Illustrated.
Ah, interesting.
So we've actually swapped, and I'll tell you why. And that is because I've subscribed to the Wargames Illustrated Prime thing, their service online / thing. Basically, all it means is you get the current issue and all the back issues in PDF. And I'm finding that I'm reading them more in PDF than I did in paper copy. So that's working really well for me. In fact, so far, I don't know how much the subscriptions cost me in terms of magazines, but so far it's cost me about $400 because I just went out today and bought a new tablet so I could read them in glorious multicolored 10-inch tablet size. So yeah, I don't know if that was the most economic way to do, but it's working well for me.
Good stuff. Well done. I'm going to
Right,
throw in
did you have
another
a-
one in there. Then I'm going to throw in a second one, which is the Setting the Scene, Volume 2, building a war games layout for a Mediterranean war games table. And I've had the first book for quite some time, the winter book, and issue 2 or the book Volume 2 is excellent, excellent. And I guess we've done a lot of work on our Mediterranean layouts, and we probably got much less from it than anyone who was yet to go there will do. But I still found loads of good tips, excellent advice. I thought it was a really high quality product, and for somebody who's gone and published it again by himself, fantastic job, good sir, well done.
Yeah, I thought that was probably going to be your pick. Actually, I nearly bought it. I went and put them both in my shopping cart. I emailed him to find out about availability. I put them both, the first one and the second one, in my shopping cart, and then I sat on it for a day or so. And he dropped me an email and said, "You've ordered it, but you actually haven't completed the order. Are you sure? Because we're probably going to sell out soon." I went, I'll wait for a little while because I've just spent $1 gazillion on other miniatures and stuff.
Yeah.
And now they're sold out, so I'll have to wait for the next one.
They'll do another printing, and they'll be doing another printing of the winter one as well. So anyone who hasn't got it yet, look into them. They're brilliant.
Great stuff. Great
Good.
stuff.
Oh, I like that one. Have you got any more for me, Rex? You got any more that you jotted down?
I have. How about just following along from the same segment that we did last year? Actually, let's break this into two. So how about favorite miniatures release in 2019. That's a box or a set or whatever. So do that one first, and then you'll come on to favorite single miniature.
Right. So a unit, like a box set or a unit or something like that. Okay, I've got it. It didn't have to take me too long because obviously, yeah, I was thinking we might be going down this path after last year. So
Can I guess? Is it by the Perrys?
No, it is not.
Oh no, that's got to be an honourable mention. Your latest Perry's purchase, though.
All right. Well, I'm going to tell you what it is. It is from May 40 Miniatures. It is from their Fallschirmjäger Kickstarter, and it is the Fallschirmjäger Officer set with containers, the Scenic set, the one that builds like a vignette where the officers are having an O group. Their map table is set up on top of the drop containers from their equipment. It's absolutely brilliant for I guess no one else has done anything like that, and I just think it's absolutely brilliant. To be a fantastic vignette in anybody's game, and I have actually ordered it in my backing of that Kickstarter.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I don't really remember that one very well. I have to go and have another look, but
Go and check it out. May 40 Miniatures, Fallschirmjäger Officer set with containers, and then in brackets, Scenic.
Yeah, right. I'll check it out in the break for sure, Dan. His stuff's really nice. It's and I like the idea of having, because as we've said before, we're not just tournament players. In fact, I'm not a very good tournament player at all. We like the idea of the diorama type of thing, blended that with wargaming, and I like the idea of getting guys that are doing different stuff rather than everybody's running forward with a gun. You've got the NCOs pointing at something, and the officer's got some binoculars and pointing at something. It's kind of been done before. It's nice to get things that are a little bit different, give it a bit of variety, and then that sort of leads you into saying, well, hey, now that I've got that, maybe I could make up a couple of carts or something, and they could be sheltering behind some carts, and under in a bomb crater, or
Yep.
you kind of your imagination starts to tick over as to how you could sort of encompass that into what you're doing.
It's great. I mean, this is what I actually look for in a Kickstarter. I look at Kickstarters to see what is different from what's available out there, and it's great for the person doing the Kickstarter because they can show us, guys, if you want to invest in something different, I'm going to make this. If you don't, then I'm not going to make it. Or at least not in quantity, or at least not at the moment, or whatever the case might be. And then it's a win-win. We express interest in these things so that people are producing more of it. That leads me on to another one. I'm going to have an honourable mention here, actually. So I can't go the Perrys in this one. I'm going to go an honourable mention in second place. If I had a second place, actually it would go in another direction as well. That would be the Hungarian cavalry, done by Great War Miniatures, I think. So they had a Kickstarter, Hungarian Cavalry, on that, and that again, same thing. Brilliant models. They're just fantastic.
That would be Great Escape Games.
Great Escape Games. Sorry, yep. I mixed that up and cross-pollinated with Early War Miniatures. So yeah, Great Escape Games. Absolutely brilliant, and they've just become available now for non-backers of the Kickstarter as well. In units and single miniatures and stuff like that too. And both of them, the Hungarian Kickstarter and this Fallschirmjäger Kickstarter, have got things like the pack horses or pack mules or whatever they are carrying, machine guns and bundles and stuff like that as well. And the Fallschirmjäger one had mounted machine guns carried on a tripod, and guys with the machine guns carried with the tripods, carried over their head and running and stuff like that, and also a mortar team relocating to a medium mortar team relocating position, and that's more things that I got as well. Yeah,
and Great Escape Games actually they're a little bit in stealth mode because a lot of people never heard of them, but they make some really good stuff. They also make a couple of rule sets. One that I haven't tried out, it's a modern rule set, but I just got it for free with my Wargames Illustrated Prime membership, which is we have discussed it. What is it? Berlin and whatever it is. Anyway, it's
7 days to the River Rhine, is it?
Yeah,
7
that's
days
it.
to the River
Yeah,
Rhine,
I knew it was something about Berlin. Okay.
What's a Rhine?
Yeah. 7 days to the River Rhine, and also they made one sort of kind of that I use in 1/100 scale, which is called Iron. We should really have prepped, Dan.
Tide of Iron?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's not it.
No?
I'll come back to you.
Cross of Iron.
Iron Cross.
Iron Cross. There we go.
Yeah. Or Iron Cross, Tide of Iron Crosses. No? Okay. No.
Drowning in iron crosses on a tide.
Yeah. Iron Cross. And that's a really interesting game. It's got some interesting mechanics in it. Yeah, so that guy flies under the radar a little bit, but they make some great stuff. So
they specialise in filling the gaps in armies that are and things that are not really covered yet. Yeah.
Yeah, which is great.
Yep.
All right, shall I give you my favourite miniatures release for a set?
Yeah, you must have one since you must be dying to tell me since this is your question. Go for it.
Yep. Kings of War, so way out on a limb here, fantasy, a Northern Alliance army, which I happened to buy because I loved it so much.
Yeah, and the models are great.
They are great because, to be honest, Man at Games, the early models, yeah, they weren't really my favourite. They weren't very crisp. They weren't very detailed. There wasn't a lot going on. But a good fun game, and a lot of people sort of weren't that fussy about it being a big battle game. People would just buy a pack and cut them off the screw, stick them on, and that's it. We're playing kind of thing. Maybe a undercoat or a base coat if you're lucky. They matured as a game system, matured as a company now, and their latest release for Kings of War and also Vanguard, which is their skirmish rules, is Northern Alliance. And so what that is, if you're not familiar with them, is it's an alliance. In the north, meaning it's for those Northern Hemisphere people. In the north is cold, so it's got things like Frost Giant and the Human Clansman and
the models are
wool
great.
and ice elementals and all kinds of stuff, which I always enjoy the whole icy, snowy kind of theme. I enjoy it in my World War II stuff as well. But they're really fantastic games. They're really fantastic miniatures. Sorry.
Yeah, great one. Yeah, they are beautiful. And if we look on www.valhallagames.net, we can on the blog on there, Rex has actually posted one of his test miniatures, and I urge people to go and have a look at it if you want to paint fur or whatever, because Rex, I think that's probably your best work ever.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 28th of December 2019, that is. It's my best work ever, and then I realised that I had to replicate that about 60 times. I'm slogging through it. Is it a problem, Dan? Is it a problem when you're actually resenting painting miniatures because you want to get on with doing other things like gaming or painting other game systems?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but I'm not slacking off. I'm doing a good job. But as soon as I've got this current run done, I'm definitely moving on to something else, either for the same game or for a different game system, just because they're so incredibly detailed, which is great. It's great that they have, their fur or pelts are all stitched together with individual leather bindings. But when you actually work out that you have to paint each one of those individual leather bindings brown because that's the color of leather, or at least I feel that I have to. Man, that's a lot of work. Incredible amount of work.
Yeah, for sure. Take a break, paint something historical, and go back to it.
Yep, something in green.
Yeah, a different shade of green, maybe brown.
Yeah, maybe field grey even.
Yeah. All right then. So if that was a box set of minis, then and you said split it, I'm willing to bet the next question is one of the ones I sort of thought we might go down the line of. So, what was your favourite miniatures or single miniature in
Single miniature,
2019? Yeah, yeah.
2019. Yeah.
So, it's the same
Um,
as last year. It could be sold by itself, or could be a single miniature from a set.
right. So for me, and this one, I don't even know if you've heard of this brand, Dan. It's again another, completely unknown, or maybe I'm the last person on the planet to hear about them. AtlantisMiniatures.com.
Right.
Now, I've just sent you a link in a document.
I'm typing.
So you should pull. It's in the document. You can copy and paste it that I just sent you.
All right. Okay.
The email
All right.
that I just sent you.
All right. Let me
Atlantis
open up that
Miniatures,
email and have a look. All right. I've got it.
and it's the Yeti.
Oh,
Firstly, look at those. Firstly, look at all the other miniatures on that website. Oh, well, you're on the Yeti now, so let's go there. And I'll put this up on the 13th of the 1st, 2020. I'll put a link to this up on our blog, Valhallagames.net. Atlantis Miniatures. Look at that Yeti. Look at the paint job and the detail. It's I think
Wow, it's
78
really good.
millimeters tall. It's amazing. And then go back out to the main menu here. By the way, this is a completely unpaid promotion, everybody.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be nice if somebody did actually pay us one day? But no. Yeah, those dwarves and all those other fantasy creatures, they are just amazing. I don't know how I've managed to not know about these guys. Resin sculpts. Go and have a look. Do yourself a favour and get on down to atlantisminiatures.com. Check it out. And check out my Yeti, but just don't buy them all because I haven't bought mine yet.
All right. Hopefully,
all right. What about you?
Get some sales. So my one's also a big one. Haha. I'll take my tongue out of my cheek there. So my one is sticking with the same Kickstarter for Fallschirmjäger. It is the DFS 230 glider that May 40 Miniatures did.
Oh, I didn't see that one. What scale is that in? Is it like?
So it's 156.
Right.
And it's basically got a resin canopy. It's got interior detail. Yeah, it's really amazing. It's really amazing. So you can go back to that page. So if you go to Fallschirmjäger Kickstarter, it's May 40 Miniatures. And somewhere on the page there, where am I? I'll go back to the page so I can help. Here we go, halfway down on the right hand side. Fallschirmjäger DFS 230 glider. And it opens it up and you can see pictures of it. Have you got it?
It's loading.
Full resin kit with interior, transparent canopy and separate hatches and doors. And in the run-up, I actually hoped this was the case, but in the run-up to this Kickstarter, they actually published a few pictures that they got of the interior of the glider and how tight it was. Unbelievably tight it is inside the interior of that glider. And I was thinking, oh, are they doing this? Are they really doing it? And then the Kickstarter came out and it wasn't on there, and I was like, oh, they must have just been showing, pictures and building excitement around Fallschirmjäger actions. But then, yeah, they blasted us with this. Have you got it on your screen?
I have. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah. Did you order that?
Yeah, I have. So it's great because you've got other models that we can replicate. One's sort of further away maybe, and then we've got this one for any zoom-ins or close-ups or whatever might apply to future potential battles.
Yes, we do have a few things in the pipeline. Let's get over 2019 first, and then we'll go on with that.
Sounds good. Right.
Well, is that about it, or have you got more questions for me?
Yeah, I've got another question for you then. So, what was your best experience of the Wargames or hobby company in 2019?
That's an interesting question, actually. Best experience with a hobby company. Well, to talk about this, I need to talk about some of the other companies first to make the contrast, I think. So, generally, some other companies out there can be a little bit, the information only passes one way. So they send out great information, they send out great emails and, books and miniatures and whatever else they're releasing. But if you ever try to interact with them, if you ever say, oh, hey, I've got this, have you seen this? It is really nice and fulfilling to get something back to say, hey, Rex, that looks great. Well done. We don't need that, but it is nice to have interaction, isn't it, with the suppliers, with the people out there. And I know that if you've got a zillion people to deal with, then replying to those emails or liking a Facebook post or just a smiley face, I guess, might become too much to handle. And once you open the floodgates, then you never know where that's going to end. But most of the companies out there, you don't really get a lot back from them. You get stuff sent to you, but there's never any interaction. And so you don't sort of feel so much like part of the community. But there is one wargaming company out there, smaller, so, is it fair to compare? But where the guy is very interactive and is active on forums and does have an email and does invite Dan to come and play a game. And that is Richard Clark from Chain of Command. So
Two Fat Lardies, yeah.
From Two Fat Lardies, sorry. Chain of Command. See, that's my World War II goggles.
Yeah.
So, I mean, aside from inviting you to play a game and a chat and catching up and all that, which was really nice, I didn't get to play a game, but he did send me a couple of messages and we had a bit of a chat about this and that. And you know what? It's really, really raised the image and my feeling of being part of a community with Two Fat Lardies. So the moment that I got the email and the, hey, how you going, Rex? Oh, that's really good. Blah blah blah. Did you know this? Did you know that? I thought, oh, that was really nice. What a nice guy. So I went out and subscribed to their, actually I already subscribed to their podcast, the Oddcast, but I hadn't really listened to it because I got so many podcasts I can't listen to all of them. So most of them I just stack up until I end up deleting 50 episodes. But I made a point of going out and listening to it. I made a point of going to his website. I would say that I made a point of buying something, but I've actually already bought a fair bit of stuff off them already, even though I've never played it. So that just small few customer service orientated words and interactions really made me feel like I was a valued customer. Let's face it, you don't need that. When you go and buy your computer, the manufacturer doesn't ring you up and say, hey, Rex, how was that computer? Is it good? You got any suggestions for improvement? It just doesn't happen. But wargaming is really as a community, and having that interaction really, really made a huge difference. So that was it. Richard Clark from Two Fat Lardies. Just a couple of quick emails saying, g'day, how you going? Oh, that was great. And I'm hooked.
Yeah, well done. So mine is actually Two Fat Lardies as well. And so 2 years in a row now, the best customer service has gone to Warlord Games. And I want to thank Warlord Games because I've only ever had great experiences if anything's gone wrong and stuff like that, and replacing miniatures or whatever the case is. But I think you defined it really well, because when I had to think about people voting for them, I was like, yeah, they're great at replacing miniatures and stuff like that, and that is fantastic. But they also are really hard to get hold of if you've got any questions about not their miniatures, about their rules, or what the heck is their intent behind this rule, or what can you please define what this definition is here to us, because maybe I'm thick, but there's 20,000 other people as well in the world clamoring for an answer on the pages that you guys are looking at, and Facebook pages and all that sort of thing. And I thought that the customer service is about 50% right for Warlord Games. It's brilliant in their physical product, but actually quite poor in their IP. And I thought that could really be improved on. So Yeah, I think Wargames have done well, but I just can't beat an experience of a guy, a set of guys, Nick and Rich there. Obviously, Rich's got all his time as the guy behind the helm, whereas Nick's got another job as well. But just the quality of their product, where they take time to talk to people about all their product and invest into that, and you know they're talking about other people, other companies as well. They're positive about other companies too. They're sharing the money around there. They're getting messages out there about the community, and I just thought that was just great. And when I got invited, first of all, just the conversations I had before the invite to come and play, it was just fantastic and illuminating. And then when I got invited to go there, I was quite frankly blown away by the hospitality, and it's just so nice of them and a fantastic experience. So yep, have to agree there, Rex. Have to agree. And I really hope that we get an opportunity to pay that back, and hopefully he heads over this way in a year or a couple of years or whatever the case is, and we can meet up and show him around.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of playing Two Fat Ladies games, Chain of Command is is the World War II game, which we're both pretty passionate about World War II. I actually quite like the idea of some of their other games as well, which you've already talked about. I quite like the idea of Dux Britanniarum, sort of RPG slash war game kind of combined. I think that would be a lot of fun. So that's something that I'd like to do at some point in the future. And you were looking at the semi-skirmish black powder game. What's that called?
Sharp Practice.
Sharp's Practice, yeah.
Sharp Practice.
Which looks great as well. But Chain of Command, I'm keen to play. I'm keen to do that. And for 2020, we run through, which we'll come on to shortly, but we'll run through some ideas of things that we could do in 2020 to increase our reach in terms of people that chat to us and thank us for, hey, that was a great video or whatever. And if we could do something for Two Fat Ladies, and while enjoying it for ourselves and while servicing other people, that would be great too. So I got an idea for a learning Chain of Command kind of a thingy thing.
Right, okay, sounds good. And I'm actually interested by a lot of the Two Fat Ladies stuff, because I'm a massive convert of the oddcast stuff. That listened to every episode probably about 3 or 4 times at least. It's the Kriegspiel stuff, all that stuff is right on my radar. So there'd be loads of games that I'd be interested in with them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe we should talk to Rich and see if he can see if we can do something with with the wonders of modern technology in terms of helping us complete noobs learn Chain of Command or one of the other games. Anyway, more to follow on that. All right, one last question, and for this one, what I want to know is, what is our best wargame experience of the year for 2019?
All right.
Okay,
well, why don't you go first then for this one?
All right. Okay, I will. So my best experience for wargaming for this year was we go to an event at the local library, Kings of War at the library, we call it, and a couple of the library guys put it on for kids and adults, and it's really a friendly environment. And they gave me the opportunity they said, hey, well, it's the last game of the year. Why don't we all get there a little bit early? We'll play a normal Kings of War game, which my son and I play in. We really enjoy that. But as well as that, why don't we play something a little bit different? Hey, Rex, do you want to set up a game of bolt action? Because we've been talking about that. And I really, really enjoyed it. We enjoy it. That's why we have Valhallagames, right? We really enjoy sharing the love of wargaming. But I really enjoyed taking along my miniatures, which I was fairly happy with, not completely painted, but taking along my miniatures and setting up all the terrain, some of which you have given me, some of which I built, some of which I bought. And the guys walked in and they really loved it. They were amazed by it. And then we got down to the game, and I was the umpire, and I was teaching them how to play and I was being a good dungeon master. I was sort of bending the rules a little bit to make sure everybody had a good game.
Yeah,
Hey, Dan,
good.
you know what that's like from owning a store.
Yep, good, yep.
When somebody walks in, your most important thing is to make sure they have a good game above anything else.
Yeah.
So I accidentally forgot about a couple of rules just to keep the flow going, and everybody really enjoyed it. And it was a great end to the year of gaming with the guys. And even better than that, someone immediately went out. In fact, while we were playing our next game, a guy's twiddling away on his phone. I'm going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, we're playing a game here." In my nicest possible way, and he was on one of the online sites buying a bolt action starter set. So yeah, you can't ask for any better result than that. All right, Dan, that's mine. So give me yours now. Give me your best wargame experience. It doesn't matter if it's a game or anything else from 2019. Go.
Oh well, that one's pretty easy. Look, I had a game with a guy who I've admired quite some time. It's got a good wargaming head on him. It's got some fantastic ideas that when I discovered them sort of pushed me in another direction with wargaming, with my little plastic soldiers and stuff like that. And he's, really, really into not only the rules, but, the scenery and the terrain, and produces great armies. He's really, I suppose, probably the whole package for wargaming.
And who is it? Richard Clark.
No, it's actually you, Rex.
Oh,
I don't think that Richard Clark will mind me saying this. So I had the best wargame experience of the year. I had Richard Clark absolutely is right up there, but I don't think he's going to mind if I say, because this is why they make the games that playing with your friends, family, loved ones, stuff like that. I had a epiphany moment of how awesome it was and why we'd sort of set up our YouTube channel and stuff like that, and why we're playing war games when we played the game that we videoed for Assault on Johnny 1, and that was right at the start of this year. And it was fantastic to stop and look around and just go, we don't need to try and jam another game in on this holiday. This is what it's all about, playing on terrain that you'd made yourself, and we'd thought up the scenarios and stuff like that, and we got it all together, and that was really what it was all about to me. So it was the best wargame experience of the year.
Oh, that's really nice, Dan. It's really nice. Thank you for that. Yeah, it was a great game for sure. And because you're such a good player to actually beat you, I have to say that was fairly satisfying as well.
Yeah, good. All right, well, that was great. I enjoyed that wrap-up, and I hope everybody listening has as well. I enjoyed listening to your favourites, Rex, and hopefully you got something out of mine as well. So I think what we'll do is we'll take a bit of a break, and we'll come back for another segment.
All right, see you soon.
See you soon.
Play it once, Sam. For all time's sake.
I don't know what you mean, Miss Elsa.
Play it, Sam. Play as time goes by.
Oh, I can't remember it, Miss Elsa. I'm a little rusty on it.
I'll hum it for you. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Sing it, Sam.
You must remember this. A kiss is just a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply as time goes by. And when two lovers woo, they still say I love you. On that you can rely. No matter what the future brings as time goes by.
Sam, I thought I told you never to play.
Well, you were asking about Rick, and here he is. Mademoiselle, may I present...
Farewell, sir.
Hello, Rick.
Oh, you've already met Rick, Mademoiselle. Well, then perhaps you also...
This is Mr. Laszlo.
How do you do? How do you do? One hears a great deal about Rick in Casablanca. And about Victor Laszlo everywhere. Won't you join us for a drink?
Oh, no, Rick,
Well,
never.
thanks, I will.
Well, a precedent is being broken. Emil?
This is a very interesting cafe. I congratulate you. I congratulate you.
Okay, Dan. So recently you went along to a bolt action tournament and had lots of fun by the sounds of things. Tell us about how that went.
That's right. Well, because of the Christmas break and New Year's, we've all been working hard and we're only updating everybody now. But it was actually the 30th November and the 1st of December. The tournament was called No Surrender, and it was at the Christchurch Wargaming Club here in Christchurch, New Zealand. Yeah, it was really, really good. We had 12 active players, and we had people watching and stuff as well, just in bolt action. There was a massive 40k and Age of Sigmar tournament going on as well at the same time, and in other rooms. And next to us in the room that we were playing in, we had Flames of War going on as well. So yeah, it was quite well attended. We had, considering it's really close to Christmas, people are really busy that time of the year. 12 players was a pretty good turn-up. We had some people travel from Invercargill to Christchurch and from Timaru to Christchurch as well.
Wow, a big day then. Just the one day event, was it?
No, it was two. It's the Saturday and Sunday. Went really well. The weather was good. It wasn't too hot inside. It wasn't cool in the mornings either, so that was nice for us as well. That time of year it's starting to get pretty warm in both Australia and New Zealand, so yeah, the weather was kind to us, and preparation was good, and everything went well. Shall I tell you about what I took and what the story was?
Yeah. So you're starting to build up a bit of an army list now. So what actual army did you take? What nation?
Well, I was maybe a little bit predictable, but I took Fallschirmjäger because I've got other armies in progress that are about to be finished. I've just acquired another army on top of that that I'll talk about maybe later. But I wanted to take something that had a bit more flexibility than my British paras have got. And I won, it was spoken about before, I've won a Best Allied General with the British paras before, so, and I've done well with the German Fallschirmjäger, so I went, you know what, I'll take the tropical Fallschirmjäger based around Primasoli Bridge again. So Colonel Hauptmann Stangenberg's list army it's based around, or battle group. So I've got 3 units of Fallschirmjäger, unit of green Fallschirmjäger representing the rear echelon guys from the Fallschirmjäger Division headquarters that he grabbed and brought up to the bridge. I've got an assault gun, which is a Stu 42. Got a truck to put them in. Got an 88, because the 88s are firing in close direct support in the battle which the army is based on. 2-man group, so Stangenberg and one other, and a Cooper wagon with MG in it, foregoing the transport. And I think that is about it. And anyone who looks at our YouTube channel can check out what that army looks like now on YouTube. This is the same army which I have taken before to Moab last year. Wrong, the year before last. Crikey, time is flying. And just posted it up on YouTube so people could see what it looks like. So always have a lot of people asking about what tropical Fallschirmjäger armies look like. So post it up there so you can see what it looked like.
Yeah, and they're pretty. It's a pretty fair paint job too, I have to say. Okay, maybe more than fair. Okay,
yeah,
maybe it's
thanks.
awesome.
Well, I've had positive feedback on it. Actually in the video. I got really harsh lighting in the video, and I'm probably a bit too close for my painting skill, so every little mistake stands out, but it actually looks quite nice on the tabletop, and yeah, might come back to that a bit later.
Yeah, sounds good. And so if you're wanting to check out those videos, you can either go to Valhallagames.net. We've said a million times before, like a broken record, but this is new. We actually have a proper YouTube channel link now. Finally got off our backsides and did that. So go to Valhallagames.net and then just follow your nose from there, or go to youtube.com/C/Valhallagames, and that's our new dedicated YouTube link. I guess the C's for channel. Yeah, that was the only option. So, yeah, who knows with YouTube tech.
Yeah, well done, Rex, for setting that up.
So how'd you go anyway? So you rolled up there on the Saturday, and how many games was it over the weekend?
So 5 games, 3 on the Saturday, 2 on the Sunday. So maybe I'll take you through a bit of a brief overview of the games themselves and tell you what went good and what left a bit to be desired on my behalf. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, that sounds great.
No worries. All right, well, the first game, the scenarios are being rolled randomly, which is not my preferred method, but hey, it is what it is. I'm not the TO. So we rolled up Manhunt for the first scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is just after our last podcast, me telling you about my adventures with Manhunt at Moab. And first scenario, Manhunt, really catches you off guard a little bit.
Yeah, it's not a great scenario, but that doesn't matter because I was playing a great guy. His name was Peter, and he travelled all the way from Invercargill, and he had a US Airborne Battle of the Bulge list. So US Airborne, he had one of those 4 bazooka tube jeeps, a bazooka team, Airborne Reserver, Air Reserver, had a Chaffee as well, and a medium anti-tank gun. So yeah, it was a really nice army, nicely painted. 2 bazooka teams and the double bazooka armored jeep. Yeah, so that was tasty.
Wow,
so
that's a lot of anti-tank for sure.
Yeah, which was not perhaps not the greatest for me because then he's got heavy weapons against my 88, which of course can actually destroy on a 6 followed by a 6. So not great for that. They always become a bit of a tasty target from that way, and I do have some armour, so yeah, not a bad list for him to face up against. We rolled off, and he chose to be the defender. So he turtled up in the centre there with his guy. We followed the rules course, and no change from the scenario set up to what it is in the rulebook. Turtled up with his guys and his units. We put our guys in reserve. I sort of came across in a bit of a central 2 quarters, I guess, of the width of the board. I was obviously focusing on, hoping to sort of drive a wedge and go up the centre of the board directly without wasting any time directly towards his officer. Hoping to get the win there that way. We were playing on an Italian board, which was set up by me. I was quite hurried to get in there, so it wasn't the most picturesque board in regards to, I guess, photo quality, but the guys all enjoyed it anyway. So it involved a few buildings on what were his side of the board, a low wall around the Hermitage with a tower in it, and that created like a bit of a compound, if you like, around the Hermitage with the tower, the bell tower, and that's where inside that he put in his officer in there and the 2 units. So they were within sight of me, but within hard cover straight away. He left a lot of stuff off, including his Chaffee and his anti-tank gun. I left my stew off the board, and some other stuff as well. So I got stuck in it straight away. His air reserve team went for the tower with some of the infantry and an officer, 1 bazooka team in the courtyard of that Hermitage, as I discussed. So later, the reserves of the gun and the infantry squad came in and went around a farm building, which were just on his left flank of that Hermitage, came on and started threatening my SDKZ 7, which had towed on the 88. And there was a mortar team as well around just on my side of the board, which involved me going through a light cover, mature olive grove, but no no penalties to movement. So I was moving through as fast as I could. What happened in the end was, as the game progressed, his stuff came on pretty promptly, and so did most of mine. The first time I rolled the Stu 42, it failed. So it is regular. I was like, oh well, these things happen. It was to represent the fact that it was from a different battle group. Battle group Schmaltz, I think it is, from another battle group that was lent to that Primasoli Bridge Force on the day of the battle. So that's reflected in its veterancy, but I was cursing it when it failed to come on. Then all Peter's reserves had come on. So I was like, great. His officer was staying put, hiding behind that hard cover with those teams. I was gradually whittling them away, and as I was getting closer, I destroyed a couple. His gun came on, his anti-tank gun. I charged in the green squad, Fallschirmjäger squad, behind him the next turn because of the reserves, the way they came on. Of course, you can choose a table edge that hasn't been engaged previously that turn by an enemy unit. So my guys came in behind his gun, killed 2 guys, failed to kill the 3rd guy. So that was sod's law, and they ended up getting destroyed by one of his infantry units that turned up, a large one. So they'd sort of been sacrificed. I hadn't managed to destroy his anti-tank gun. My 88 eventually got the range on him and destroyed them. My Stu 42 failed another reserve roll, rolling 11 again. His guys are all on at this stage. His air observer had been pinned down. The 88 had a go at the tower that he was in, and had sort of pinned them down, but it only killed one guy in the team, hadn't killed the actual observer himself. Then final turn was sort of coming up. It looked like we had time for, and I was hoping to get an extra turn. We were going to finish early and start an extra turn, and therefore we were going to have time to finish it. But we weren't mucking around. Neither of us was playing slow. Peter was going just as fast as I was. He certainly wasn't playing to hold on. And my Stu roll goes to roll. The officer's still in that compound. I've got the ability to bring it inside that compound, and at basically would have been at point blank range, hit him with the MMG and try the main armament. And I failed the reserve roll again on an 11.
Right.
So yeah. Basically, I got to the point where, because I'd thought I was going to squeeze in another turn, I didn't try and shoot his officer, which would have got me a draw if I was lucky and that I had achieved that. Of course, the Stu was in a final throw at that as well. And then I got told the game had finished, and I sort of said, well, we got time for another turn, and I got told no, the timing was this, and I was like, okay, well, that is what it is. Neither of us had paid slow, and yeah, it was a good win to Peter, so well done for him, and a really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
We had some great chats that didn't slow the game down, and really nicely painted army too.
Yeah, right. Okay, sounds pretty exciting. Bit of a cliffhanger with all those units not being able to come. Well, with that unit not being able to come in from reserve, that's the gun. That's a big part of your army. How many points is that? Couple 150, something like that.
What my gun?
Yeah.
So 190, something like that, I think.
Yeah. So you played the game on 800 points, more or less.
Oh, it was a 1250 tournament. Yeah, I should
Okay,
have said
so
that
he
at the
played
start.
1250, and you paid 1,000. So
Yep.
yeah, because you couldn't get your assault gun onto the
Yeah,
onto
that's
the field,
right.
So yeah,
Ironically, I felt less worse than if I'd failed my reserve rolls, and by one. And so, if it was a veteran, it would have come on. But but because it was 2 pips away, and I was a regular, I ironically felt less bad, because there's nothing I could have done. If you're rolling 11s, it's just the way that it is.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
And you're -1 anyway, so yeah.
Did you? So maybe we should have this conversation at the beginning of every tournament review. So what was the story with the ending of the games? What was the? So
Well,
it was a bit unsure at the beginning, or
because we've got a policy of sort of asking now.
yeah. It's starting to become a thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So we went for playing whole turns, or the tournament organizer decided on playing whole turns, and if you finished before your time, then you could start another turn.
And play that whole turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's clear at least. But you missed out by a couple of minutes, I guess.
Whether you like it or whether you don't like it, it was completely clear. So
Yep.
that's just the way it is.
Yeah, right. Yep. Okay. All right, okay. So first loss to you. That's unusual, Dan, for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just as good as losing as I am at winning.
Okay. All right. Good game, though.
Yeah. Frustratingly, we had an hour and a half for lunch after that. I was sort of caught short, but not caught short. The time was, but then we had an extra long lunch. I was like, damn it, if I only had more time. I'd like to see more tournament organisers suggest that if both players agree at some stage in their game, and if the game's immediately before their lunch, well, if they want to play on to see how their game goes to the conclusion, then they're free to, because it's their lunch. But yeah,
I don't think that's a good idea. I don't agree with you on that one.
No.
Because the problem is one guy can see what's happening and he wants to play on, and then you're saying, no, it's the end of the, we played to time.
Well, both players have to agree. So as I'm saying, if you don't agree.
But then there's a bad feeling about it. The guy's walks away going, oh well, I could have won, but potentially, but my opponent didn't want to play on, so he really, I could have won, but blah 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 blah. So he's not a really nice guy or whatever. Not that you get that in bolt action very much, but it's still a bit of a bad taste in your mouth if somebody clearly wants to play on and you don't.
I can actually see that point of view. Yep.
And you don't. Then you feel bad. Even you feel bad like you've legitimately won the game, and then you feel bad because you don't. You wouldn't want to play on so the other guy could win the game. But then if you do and he wins the game, well, then you feel bad as well, and it's just bad all around, I reckon.
Yeah. But again, it's another good advertisement for talking about how games are going to finish at the start of every event.
Yep.
And I'd like to say in this case there wasn't any problem with it. Just the discussion that we've had just shows you should always talk about it.
Yep. You just got defeated by the dice rollers, really.
Oh, I got beaten by the my opponent. His mission was to keep his officer alive, and he fairly and squarely achieved that, and I did not manage to capture him. So yeah.
All right, great stuff. So game 1, lost to Dan, but lots of fun.
Yep.
Long lunch, and then game 2?
Game 2, yes. So meeting engagement. There's a lovely chap called Al from our club. Okay, he's a lovely guy. He's played in our D-Day game. It's just another time which I've played him or been involved in a game that's had him in. He's got an early war German list. So it's got Panzer 3J in it, SDKZ 223, armoured car, a sniper, medium mortar and spotter, and lots of regular infantry squads, regular, plus an anti-tank rifle. It's really well painted. He hasn't quite finished his army, but man, it's shaping up really nice, and I'm looking forward to seeing it's all finished because he is a really good painter, and it's looking great.
Great stuff.
So everyone sort of, is this word in the English? Everyone bags their tables. I bags that one. Oh, I want that one. I want that table. I want that. So we actually ended up on the same Italian table. So I was like, oh, okay. So I declared it to Al and I said, hey, listen, I've played on this table already.
I set it up.
Yeah, and I set it up, and I suggested as we walked around, which is another good thing, the TO encouraged us to walk around, and whoever brought the table suggest how their terrain should be played on those tables.
Right,
and then we spoke about it to the whole group before we even started the games, so that was great.
Yeah, that is good, actually. That saves a lot of time in some ways. I mean, it's spending time at the beginning, but it saves everybody having to do that over and over again. At the beginning of every game, so that's good. And sometimes it can be a bit ambiguous too. You set something up in a particular way so that you have this weird, quirky pinch point. And if other people don't sort of understand what you've done, then they might not get the full benefit out of the way you set up the terrain.
Yeah, and when you look at something like the Hermitage Tower that we've got, it has a floor at the bottom at the entrance and has a floor on the top. Now, it's obviously got a floor in the middle because there's windows there, but the model, even though it separates, doesn't have a layer there. So you need to. It's good to describe things like, hey, listen, you go in this door here. A whole turn later, you appear at the top there, and it's got capacity to have a three-man team, fixed team, or a two-man team and one other single infantry model, or something like that. So people can go, oh yeah, I can see how that works.
Yep. Gotcha.
Because we've experienced it and gone, yeah, that's the best way to play it. Whereas other people might be like, oh, let's just play. You can put one squad up there, and then suddenly you're like, well, when does it appear up there? I thought it appeared up there this turn. You think it appears up there next turn, and your version of a squad is, 10 men. My version of a squad was actually a unit, and I've decided to move my anti-tank gun up there.
Yeah. Well, the day that I take my my big hill to a tournament, we'll have to have that conversation for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And hand out the blue tack.
Yeah. So we're on the same Italian table, and told our knight, don't roll, just choose the side you want. So he chose the village side, which is so I was playing across the same side that I was last time.
Yep.
He turtled up in the buildings and the walled and sort of hedged grounds around the buildings. So obviously we've got the buildings that I discovered before, which I discussed before, and then we've also got a town hall building over there with another low wall around it, stuff like that. A road sort of runs down across the table from shortboard edge to shortboard edge, and I'm coming through the orchard and stuff to him. So yeah, so he turtled up in those buildings. His sniper and his mortar spotter went for the Hermitage Tower. The 88 opened fire on him, destroyed the sniper's aid, and then rolled a 1 to damage the spotter. The spotter's ranging on the 88 as well. I fought my way across the table with a couple of the larger veteran Volshmag units. The 223 came forward to a hedge line and opened fire at us. Didn't kill enough guys, and then my guys just went on the offensive and assaulted it and destroyed it. Then once I destroyed that, I was like, where am I going to go? And then I decided I was going to slingshot towards the town hall, which had a large German unit firing at me from the windows and stuff in there. So I said, right, I'm going to slingshot myself towards that. So I run towards there and ended up getting in the building, destroyed guys in there, and then ended up shooting out the other side towards his mortar, when I ended up destroying his medium mortar as well, which eliminated the threat. My sniper killed his sniper after they had a duel as well, and I ended up getting a pretty convincing win. So it finished 10 dice to me and 4 to him. So yeah, happy days. Another great game, another fabulous guy, and another fabulous army to have on the table against me.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I do like those building-to-building fights. Actually, what I think of it, do you remember in the last episode of the podcast we talked about Stalingrad book coming out?
Yep.
And I said, well, I think Wargames might have to maybe bring forward their Raiders rule set to be able to handle those building-to-building fights a little bit better.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this. Yep.
Yeah, and then a couple of days later, they released the second version of the free kind of the small rule set, like 5 pages or whatever it is.
Firefight one.
Firefight one, yeah, upgraded one, and they said, oh well, because Stalingrad's coming, we better release something from that. So yeah, they've seen that. So that it is good to have more granular rules around buildings and that. But yeah, it sounds great what you're describing, building to building fighting. It's cool. There's lots of subtlety in it, and you also get you mentioned slingshot here. I'm not sure quite what you meant by that, but I know if you get in a building, you can get a bit of a slingshot advantage going that way, and you can sort of jump through pretty quickly if you're assaulting and winning your assaults, and then moving on that way. So yeah, it's cool.
Because of the footprint, if your building's 6 inches wide on the bottom floor, then you go in one door, you defeat the enemy, and then suddenly you're considered to be basically at the wall on the other side, and then you slingshot out of that. When you charge that other side. So yeah, Yep, and that's probably realistic so long as your buildings are not too big and you haven't got a huge
massive cathedral that you're trying to call one building.
Yep.
As per the rules, you need to split that up into multiple buildings. But it's reasonable to expect that when you get inside a building, you're not worrying about moving slowly and trying to stay in cover because you're in a building, right? You can just run to the other window and then get out. So yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, it worked good. And actually, on the day that I set up my table, there's another consideration that like we've quite often talked before about tables looking beautiful, and if they look beautiful and look right, then they probably perform pretty well. But you just have to be a little bit careful with cover and stuff like that. Like on the day I was setting up this Italian board, I was like, damn it, I've forgotten my high walls. And so I put it down the low walls there, and I realised later that if I had put the high walls up, it just would have been too much of a fortress for the guys behind it, because you wouldn't be able to have sight of people, so that means you wouldn't be able to assault them and stuff like that. So it worked really good. So yeah, you just always have to keep an eye on it, because that side of the board was turtled up, the buildings, but it wasn't impregnable. It was worked really well.
Yep. Yeah, well, especially if you're running a like equal forces, if you're doing a scenario, and one force is outnumbered 3-1, or should I say, the other way around, you're trying to push into an impregnable kind of a structure, that's well set up, and they've got artillery support. You've got to cross the open before you get there, and all that sort of thing, like a real life battle. Then you need a 2-1 or 3-1 advantage to be able to crack it, because you're just going to see such a high casualty rate. So whereas in a tournament, you're going to have expectation that that the terrain's going to allow two armies of equal strength to have a decent fight and an enjoyable fight. So yeah, it's a good point.
Well, some of them do, of course. Attacker and defender have your preliminary bombardment and stuff like that quite often, but this wasn't. And so it was just a good idea that really it wasn't too turtled up. But yeah, you're right. So ideally you'd have an advantage, or you have to, if you've got an equal army, you have to create a local superiority. So you're fighting in a part of the battle on your own terms where you've created a local advantage, a sort of 3-1 or 2-1 at least, so you can give covering fire and stuff like that. And that's what Chain of Command's actually really good for too.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's interesting. I know in Chain of Command they have I think it's 10 dice or something for an MMG, for a set up MMG, which is a massive amount of dice. So if you're running across open ground trying to assault someone in there covered, they'll have firing lanes, maybe from two angles with two MMGs. It's just not going to work out for you.
Yeah. Yes. So anyway, that was a fantastic game. I really enjoyed it. And so I'd lost one and won one at this stage. And I went into the third game, which got rolled up as double envelopment versus Gordon, who's part of our club. Lovely guy. He's got a late war British into the Reich list. So he's got a tank destroyer, a Bren carrier, 25-pounder, MMG, sniper, plenty of infantry, all veterans on a table. So everyone grabbed their tables. So the table we ended up with was absolutely covered in hedges. Technically, there would have been bocage. However, we'd looked at it and we just said, no, you've got to be able to see across this. So we're just counting them as low hedges. So you got visibility. And it's not really great for double envelopment. So I sort of looked at this table and went, we got two hopes of this. So I actually can't remember who won the table roll off. But I just went full on honey badger, really. I looked at the table, and as I got closer, I was like, okay, there's one gap in the hedges on what was my left flank.
Hang on a sec. Hang on a sec. What's honey badger? I understand what turtling up is. Obviously, you can get that from the context, even if you're not a seasoned wargamer. But what the heck is a honey badger?
Have you never? All right. So anyone who doesn't know what a honey badger does, because we don't have them here in New Zealand except in the zoo. So you need to go on YouTube or something and watch some David Attenborough thing on honey badger. Have you ever seen a honey badger trying to burrow into like a hive or something to get? Yeah, it's crazy. he just rips things apart and just goes for broke. So that's Honey Badger.
Right. Okay. All right. Resume.
Okay. So on my left flank, there is a gap on my side and a gap on his side that I could actually get through. And there is a road going diagonally from my corner of my left flank to the corner of his left flank, so diagonally across the board. It meets at a sort of a T-junction and comes back towards my right-hand corner. So you can imagine that crossways board. But in the middle, there is craters and stuff like that.
Yep.
So the road is basically impassable well, it is impassable to anything that's not tracked or infantry or whatever. So wheeled vehicles have got to choose the long way home. So I was like, what am I going to do here? On the right flank, I was like, there's nothing getting up there except tracked vehicles. Now I needed to make some decisions. So I was like, I'm not going to try and keep my towed 88 on and try to get across the battlefield on the SDKZ. I'm going to detach it. I'm going to put it on the road here and get a field of fire down the road because he has got some tracked vehicles. He could come down the road, with the accelerated speed, get across spend a turn negotiating the obstacles, the craters, and then continue off the board. So I sort of had to block that road, so I put my 88 on it. The SDKZ. Go ahead, Rex. You got a question?
Yes, I was just going to say there's nothing quite like direct fire from an 88 coming down the road towards you. It must be a scary thing.
Yeah, tasty.
Whose idea was that? Was it Rommel in the desert?
Actually, in France. In France, I believe it was at Arras, where the British and the French had a really badly coordinated attack, and the Germans were basically getting overrun, and he personally jumped in his staff car, drove to the nearest flak unit, grabbed them, brought them up, and started ranging them in by himself onto the tanks. And it was at that stage, because, of course, we talk about the German tanks at the end of the war, how they're basically impregnable or whatever to a lot of shellfire. But it's actually at the start of the war, it was the Allied tanks that were causing the Germans so much hassle with the Matildas and the Char B and stuff like that. The Germans didn't have anything apart from they just discovered this 88 could penetrate it. Yeah,
right, okay.
There's a famous story, though, in the desert, because, of course, with the lines of sight, they really, really come into their own in the desert. And there's a famous story in the desert where, some British tank got shot out from underneath him, and as he was captured, he said to the German guys, the artillery guys manning the 88s, and, well, I think it's pretty unfair you're employing anti-aircraft weaponry against our tanks. And the Germans said back to him, well, I think it's pretty unfair you're driving tanks towards us that can't be penetrated by any of our other weapons. So,
yeah, that is interesting. So leapfrog, isn't it? With us, because it's all just in the past. You tend to jumble all those things in together a little bit. It is.
Well, the first time something happens, it makes you reconsider. Is that sporting or not? Like paratroopers. Is it sporting to shoot them when they're coming down? Because the Germans didn't think that they should be, because of course they were employing them first in a large-scale parachute assault. They did not think it was appropriate to be shot at coming down, because previous to that, parachutists had only been used if they were bailing out of aircraft in the First World War, and it was not the thing to shoot a parachutist coming down because he was preserving his life. But of course, if you're coming down to assault under a parachute, then, currently in, the laws of armed conflict, the rule still stands. If you spot someone bailing out of an aircraft, you should not be shooting him. He's a non-combatant at that stage, but you're entitled to engage parachutists because they're coming to assault you. And I suggest you do, ladies and gentlemen. I suggest you do engage those paratroopers, because they're going to land and they're going to do horrific things to you. So they're going
to be angry, very, very angry.
They're going to be angry. They're going to pose in Osprey Men at War books looking angry.
Yep. All right, that was a slight diversion. Yes, so you set up on the road for direct fire for anybody who was keen to start coming down the road in wheeled vehicles. Get stuck in that rough ground and get it full in the face from the 88.
Yep, that's right. And I'm rolling my Stu 42 forward on the right, basically driving straight ahead over everything, creating a gap. I've got a Fallschirmjäger team following that up, providing a bit of cover for them. So my truck. So remember I said I've got that gap on my left flank. He's got a clean thing, but of course I have to guess, when do I go for that gap? Because surely he can see that gap as well as I can see that gap.
Yep.
So my truck, I put a sniper team in it, the 5-man veteran Fallschirmjäger squad, so that they could take the pins when the truck got blown up, if it did, and a 2-man officer unit. So I just went, surely he can see it as much as I can, so I just drove like hell with this Fallschirmjäger unit up the road. I probably telegraphed it. I should have maybe waited to the last dice or whatever. That was my mistake. But, I mean, he was going to go for it or I was going to go for it. So we were both going to end up on the same path towards each other. The truck ended up getting destroyed, of course. So damage from the wreckage destroyed the officer unit, which was a real bummer because I wanted that unit so I could activate multiple units. Because, of course, even if one of the other units got destroyed, such as my sniper, if I had the officer unit and the other 5-man Fallschirmjäger unit, well, if I pull the dice, I can give it to my officer and then hopefully pass a test and then give it to the other guys as well, shoot the gap in the hedge and get off the table. But that did not happen. The officer died and his man died. So, and follow-up fire the next turn, all but one of the FJ squad. Okay, thanks to Stubborn, he survived. They died, and the sniper team, because I'd managed to put them out of the wreckage in some cover, and some bad rolls from Gordon meant they did not die. So then finally, I got them both off the table. So then we've got 6 points there. 2 units off, 6 points. That's good.
Yep.
The tank on my right, I'm rolling over hedges and British soldiers.
All right, okay. Always good.
Eventually ended up flattening the 25-pounder. As you know, there's
your tank assaulted the artillery piece.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
and you can't go anywhere. You just die. So,
yep. I like it.
It's the Kugelwagen. I had that sort of following the truck through the hole on the left. But Gordon at this stage had closed that hole with his infantry squad. The Kugelwagen come back into the middle and went down the road, caused some issues to some infantry there before he became immobilized right in the road junction, right before the craters. He actually spent the rest of the turn, he gunned down an assault by Gordon, so that was good. I had Fallschirmjäger go up and clear sort of a building in the middle and a sniper squad, so that was another good thing for me as well. My Gordon was expecting me, I think, to take my Stu straight off after I flattened the gun because it was, within 6 inches of the table edge, but I didn't do that. What I did is I turned around and I, right from the back of the board, I engaged his units from the rear. So I destroyed 2 more units with howitzer fire and broke up what was looking like his best opportunity to get off the board with anything except his tank destroyer, which had already got off the board and got him 3 points. He had a big squad running for my edge in the hole that the Stu had made, but no, the Stu just gunned them down. So I spent 2 turns destroying things with the Stu, and then reversed off the board in the last turn to get 3 more victory points for that. So,
yeah, right. So at this point, he's got 3 points.
So it finished 20 victory points to me and 10 to him.
Right. Okay. Wow. Okay. Oh, it sounded like a fun game, though.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's your describing or not, but they do seem pretty cinematic. I can sort of envisage it pretty well. I know you've sent me the video, which we'll put up on the YouTube channel at some point, but I haven't had a chance to look into it yet.
Yeah, there were some cinematic moments. We didn't stop laughing. There was I think he's a regular lieutenant, probably been on one operation coming out of Sandhurst, and my veteran Fallschirmjäger unit charged him all by himself behind a hedge, and my guys didn't didn't wound him once. I think there were 7 guys or something left in the unit, and he killed 1 guy and won the combat. So,
Right. Okay.
yeah, pretty hard case.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Good game. So that's game 3.
Yes, that was the end of day 1. So I'd lost the first game and won the second 2. So that was good, and went home. Satisfied man. 3 really good games against good opponents, and looking forward to the next day.
Great stuff.
So day 2 dawned nice and early. Got there, I was playing a really nice guy called Ken, I think, from the Timaru Armchair Generals Club. So Timaru is about 2 hours away from us. And he was playing a German reinforced assault pioneer platoon. So this had a Panzer IV. A veteran 1. So a tank fear 1. So Tiger fear must have been a G, I think it was. The SDKFZ, the Pioneer wagon, with the Panzer Buchse on it, and all sorts of stuff. So it was he had they were all his infantry were veteran pioneers.
Right. Okay. I've never faced those guys before.
Yeah, it was tasty.
Yeah.
He had a Nebelwerfer.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Always good for a laugh.
Yeah, his Panzer IV was veteran, so he's counting on it doing a lot more than he wasn't just in there for a Tiger Fear mechanic.
Yep.
So yeah, it was a really good army, and he had not lost a game so far going into this game. So yeah, the table we were on was a beautiful watermill table. That one of our club members, Mike, had kindly loaned the event, even though he couldn't take part in it himself. He had prior engagements. But the issue was it probably wouldn't loan itself to every scenario well, because from short table edge to short table edge, you've got a river powering that watermill, and you've got a bridge sort of on my left flank, and apart from that, sort of it was river everywhere. The TO had randomly rolled hold until relieved, so we've got hold until relieved around this watermill, which was pretty cool, actually. I thought we were going to have a lot more problems than what we did, but Ken and I had to come to an agreement that we'd be ignoring the house rule for the event. Now, I hadn't spoken about this earlier, but the TO had put in place a house rule which we sometimes use at our clubs, and I don't like it. It's not my call, so there we go. But I don't like it, and I know other people don't like it, and it is you can't fire through 2 lines of sight. So if you have a hedge and you're up against it, and there's another hedge between you and the enemies behind that, that's fine, because you're up against your hedge. But if you've got 2 lines of sight, so if there's a hedge you're not directly up against, you're not manning the hedge, 2 linear obstacles or whatever, and you're not manning one, or the enemy's not manning one, you've got 2 lines of sight, then you can't see him or engage him.
Yeah, right. Even if you can see, even if based on the proper bolt action roll,
even if you physically have true line of sight, like the bolt action roll, you can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's come from. I don't agree with it, and it's not my call. So put my big boy pants on, and we did that, but it just would have been impossible in this game. It would have been impossible in this game. You would have literally, and this is the problem with changing the rules. You change the rules, you're skewing the tactics, you're skewing the figures, the percentages of things and stuff like that. Like I would have been holding to relieved in the middle of a board with these bocage things around me, hedges, and I would not have been able to see him until he came within 6 inches of me. And I'm trying to hold that position. It would have been untenable. So we discussed it before we started the game, and Ken and I decided that we were going to forego that. It would have spoiled the game completely. And once we had that sorted, it went really well.
Okay.
So I chose.
So you were defending.
Yep. I chose side 1 as a defender. I mean, I've got an 88. There's no, normally it works out pretty good having an 88 as a defender, rather than bringing it on. It can be a bit of a pain as a defender as well, but trying to bring it on is even more of a pain. But so I chose side that had better access to the centre of the table from my edge, so I get some rapid moves on the objective later in the game. So just had some like wheat fields, like soft cover but no penalty to movement and stuff like that. So I deployed my 88 and a full strength Volkswagen squad around the objective. So Ken left off his Pioneer half track, and he left the Panzer IV in reserve as well, and he had everything else in the table but he decided just to attack from his table edge with any sort of moves to surround me. And I'm not too sure if that was a tactical move, and he decided that he was going to keep all his units in mutual support and just attack from his side, or if it was that he didn't realise he could come on from his table edges, because we've got the confused reinforcement rule or whatever it is, where you can come on from the random table edges.
Same as the Manhunt one.
Yeah, correct.
Whatever.
I've played these before, and I actually quite often play it that I bring my guys on in the same thing as well, because they can actually support each other instead of getting picked off. So it's probably a tactical thing from him. So turn 1 starts. King gets the first dice out of the bag. This Nebelwerfer is placed so you can see the objective, see my 88. Bam, Nebelwerfer rolls a 6 for direct line of sight on the 88. Everyone's killed, guns removed.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, multi-launchers, nice.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, got to get me some of those.
Yep. So second dice of the turn comes out, and it's mine.
Yep.
So I spot a line of advance that I could come onto the board and look across the wheat field, and I'm like, right, that's it, I'm doing it. So I advance on my stew, and needing a 6 to roll against his Nebelwerfer, I roll a 6.
Right.
Destroy them, take them off the board.
Wow, this is going to be a fast game then.
Yeah. So everyone on both sides starts rolling onto the table. So in my case, wave 1 including the mortar, so I can get it stationary as fast as I can, and firing in turn 2. Losing minimum time. In his case, closing in with all his pioneer squads while his sniper's relocating for a better shot. I'm most concerned about the one pioneer squad he has that has a flamethrower. Obviously really good at clearing infantry, and a bit concerning. So they've all started the minimum distance away, so they're closing in fast. I think it's 18 inches on top of my head, minimum distance from the centre of the table.
Yep.
They're closing in fast, and they're getting some really good shooting. Like seriously, he's throwing some amazing dice while he's advancing as well. And they're starting to whittle down the large FJ squad. Despite they've got soft cover and the veterans and everything, he's pinning me up big time. So I get a rally, and I managed to roll, I think it was something like 4 or something pins to take off me, so I relieved a little bit of pressure. So my units, we're just throwing stones at him basically in return. Nothing else is hardly happening.
Yep.
And turn 2, his Panzer IV comes on his left flank, my right, with line of sight towards my stew. And on his right flank, my left, on the road that runs down to the bridge across the river, he's got his Pioneer SDKFZ. So, the Panzer IV on his left flank behind the hayfield. I think the adage, says big guns never tire. It's going to prove true. Advanced on the board, and he rolls a 6 to hit the Stu 42. So, all our big guns have rolled 6 and a 6 and a 6.
Right.
So he rolls and pens, but then luckily on the damage table he rolls a 1, and I get to walk it off.
All right, okay.
Yep. So in return, my medium mortar has got line of sight to his MMG and rolls a 6.
Wow.
and destroys
freakish,
that.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so everything basically that needs a 6 is rolling it big time. So meanwhile, the Pioneers are getting closer all the time. So coming closer to me, and one of the squads has got into the river. Another one's coming behind the watermill towards me, so out of my line of sight. I can't engage him yet.
Yep.
And I drove my Kuba wagon up the road and opened fire on the Pioneers on the riverbank that are coming down towards my infantry unit holding the objective. I get to pin him up a bit, and he ends up going down with that squad. And I've got an inexperienced squad as well. It's moved up to the hedge, and therefore I'm manning the hedge. I'm not counting that as cover. And they're firing at point-blank range, the guys as well. So even an experienced guy is point-blank. So we're starting to do some damage. We're starting to really jam up that squad with some pins on it. So I'm starting to think, great, might slow these guys down a bit. Meanwhile, the flamethrower unit's coming closer and closer to me the whole time. The one in the hayfield, Pioneer squad comes past the water wheel on the mill towards the objective squad, shooting at my squad. They're brave the enemy fire, and the Fallschirmjäger are down to half strength now. So Pioneer's the flamethrower. Now they're advancing towards me, but he's in the open now. So I'm like, right, okay. So I spot a place where I can get some fire brought on him safely from the stew. So I move the stew behind we're in a covered position behind the watermill from his Panzer IV. Luckily, I'm passing the tests with it, so the Tiger Fear tests. So advanced line, the next turn put me out of sight, and he's got one more turn he can shoot at me, and then I'll be out of sight. So I go for it. I fire at the Pioneers with the flamethrower and pin him up and sort of keep him still for one turn, which is great. And I decide the threat from his Pioneer half-track is worth a big Hail Mary for me. So I drive my truck, okay, with the second largest Fallschirmjäger squad in it, straight up the road. The truck drives up the road, gets blown up, but the Fallschirmjäger get out. They've got a Panzerfaust, and they destroy the Pioneer half-track.
Right. Wow. Really swingy game then.
Yep.
On the seat of your pants.
Yep. Ken Sniper tries to kill my mortar, but fails. Next turn, he gets early dice, but he fails to penetrate my stew with the Panzer IV, and then I advance, and I'm out of sight behind the watermill to him. I bring all my vehicles weapons to bear on the Pioneers there. These are the ones that have come behind the watermill, not the flamethrower squad. He goes down. I only get one pin from an MMG shot. Next bit of threats that flamethrower Pioneer squad. So I advance my that 8-man Fallschirmjäger that have just destroyed the half track. I get a couple of kills on them in the open field. Then I move the Kuhl wagon up and get another pin and another couple of kills. The flamethrower is still there, but they have to go down from more fire. So I've held them up again from running up and flaming me. That's great. So Pioneers in the river, they're getting massed fire from a snap 2 dice from my officer. I've got my officers placed where I now have the smallest 5-man veteran squad and the inexperienced 5-man squad. They're both firing at point blank now. So plenty of SMGs from the veterans. He goes down, but now I've achieved the goal. It's because I've used a snap 2, so I've got that big weight of fire. I won't get to use him later, but I've gained the initiative there. He's got to go down. Yep. But I've achieved my goal because all 3 Pioneer squads this turn have failed to move any close to the objective. And they're all held in place. They've all gone down, which is absolutely vital for me to win. So next turn, I get the early dice. I hammer the watermill squad of Pioneers with the hits with MMG and the howitzer of the stew, destroying half, but he's moved his officer up and saves him from routing. I put max pins on them though, so now they're decimated and they're standing still. So I get another dice and I focus on that flamethrower squad again. I charge them in the open with my Fallschirmjäger, the 8-man squad. So these are veteran Pioneers versus veteran Fallschirmjäger.
Yep.
Because they're in the open, I decided, and because they're just vital for me to destroy them, it was just worth the risk.
Yep.
So first round of close quarters, we did 2 casualties each, and I think I've lost my momentum because now I'm not striking first in the charge.
Yeah.
But on the second turn of combat, my tough fighter SMG swinging in my favour. He does 2 again, but I wipe him out, and I've still got 1 guy remaining in my squad.
Right. Okay. Yep.
So realising this is the crux moment, I take my neck dice and I snap 2 again. So the brave Fallschirmjäger squad that held the objective from the start managed to get an order passed because of the line of sight to the Panzer IV, which has come around the back of the watermill. And I get them on ambush, and then I pour fire from the other 2 squads and the officer into that last Pioneer squad in the riverbank and put him down again. And as Panzer IV moves up around the other side of the watermill, does cause a failed Tiger test of 2, but all the important stuff got off. Next turn starts, I get the first order dice, it's all over. So I just move my infantry forward, throw a screen up outside the scoring distance of the objective with my infantry. My screen outnumbers the guys he's got to throw at it, and Ken extends the hand because it's just beyond his guys to reach the objective now. So a win to me.
Wow. Sounded like a tough battle. Sounded like you played it really well. Sounded like it was could have gone horribly, horribly wrong for you if you hadn't made some good decisions and, tied those guys down, stopped them from moving forward continuously through the whole game.
Yeah, there was some big boy decisions to be made. Had to be a big boy pants. Cover was important in this game, and had to make decisions. It was all about slowing his guys down, because if they don't have cover that's slowing their approach, then obstacles slowing their approach, then that is not far away from the objective where they can deploy on that hold until relieved.
Yep. Yeah. Right. Okay. Oh, great game. They sound like a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. His army is really nicely painted, and by the way, I keep referring to nicely painted, and listeners might be going, why didn't he get some photos or something? So guys, I have, and a little bit of video footage as well, and at some stage we're going to put together. Now we've finished our Christmas break, and then we're going to put together a YouTube video and get it up, and you'll be able to see how glorious these guys' armies are and how much effort they put in.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. I've got the videos there, but I just haven't had a chance to have a look at them. But any day now, Dan. Any day.
I'm sure everyone who's enjoyed the Christmas break knows exactly what that's like, and you've been flat out, and unfortunately I don't have technical prowess. So yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed your Christmas, and people can listen to this now and look forward to seeing the armies.
Yeah, for sure. So is that game set and match now? Is that 2 games for day 2? Or was that first game of day 2?
That was the first game day 2. It just took me ages to describe it because it was just so exciting.
It's a lot of gaming, isn't it?
Yeah.
Actually, what it's making me feel like? It's making me feel like hanging up the podcast mic right now and go and get started on a game because it's really motivating and exciting. So I'll have to go and get a mate around and go and get some games in the next couple of days, I reckon.
Good.
So,
I hope other people are feeling like that.
Yeah. So I think and the way you describe it is good. Like it's not just these guys move forward and those guys shot those guys and that. I've noticed other people can or can't do that. So it's a skill that only some people have, is being able to describe it in a way that brings you into the moment, so you actually feel like you're there, so you understand what's going on, and also you understand the pressures and the squeezes and the friction happening in the battlefield. So yeah, it's great. Hopefully our YouTube videos portray that as well, but it is hard to tell when you put it together yourself. I think you can only objectively tell that when somebody else is listening.
Yeah, I think so. So hopefully other people are getting that from it. I mean, the subscribers on the YouTube channel hopefully are feeling that way because they've subscribed to us. They're obviously looking forward to some more, and I hope I'm not turning as many people off with a strange accent and rather excitable commentaries.
No, it's all good, I reckon. Okay, so final game.
Turn 5. Okay, so game 5. I'm against the TO, Nathan. And we are on a Tunisian-style table, so a lovely sort of reddish sort of desert, arid land, and sort of Middle Eastern sort of table buildings around the table, sort of the flat-top buildings, if you like, adobe buildings. And on my right flank is a sort of short diagonal berm. On his right flank there is another diagonal berm sort of facing across the table towards each other. Might come in handy during the game. So we're playing key positions. So 3 objectives are rolled. This is the one we have to hold more objectives at the end than your opponent.
Yep.
3 objectives are rolled. We lay them out in very even positions on the centre line of the table.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the guys, we've got a very, very central one. Basically one about 1.5 foot from the short table edge on the right, and then one about 1.5 foot from the centre one as well. So yeah, they're really, really central. So no one has put anything in reserve. We're all in.
Okay, all right.
So Nathan's got a British army list, late war British. He's got a Recce Bren carrier. He's got a heavy mortar. He's got an AVRE tank with the one with the big mortar in it. Heavy mortar, heavy howitzer. Sorry, that's tasty. So he's got a bunch of guys. Nathan's a good player too. I know for a fact that he's at the top of the Allied list, the Allied generals, and I'm seem to, without knowing, I think I might sort of be towards the top of the German generals, or sorry, the Axis generals. So
Yep.
yeah, so I guess we're it's up for grabs.
And
It's not
the
what's
last
anything in
game-
reserve. Yeah.
The last game, you're probably roughly equal in terms of your wins and losses, I guess.
Yep. So no one's got anything in reserve. We're all in. Nathan deploys his heavy mortar on my left flank behind that berm I was telling you about. So I bring my my stew on, advance on, and roll to hit his heavy mortar and hard cover. Roll a 6, destroy it.
Yeah. Just
Yep.
when you need the 6 heavy mortar, that's a heavy houses. Sorry, that's a lot of punch.
Yep. He does well now. After I have to guess where he's going with 2 main threats. He's got a 25-pounder on his left flank, my right, and he's got an AVRE on my left behind that same berm. So now I've got double threats, really. What have I got to counter? Well, I've got my 88 and I've got my the stew, which I've already committed to one side. He chooses the AVRE to counter that stew. So I managed to squeeze in my 88 behind the berm on my right flank, and I managed to fit in the medium mortar there as well. So the 88 can see the 25-pounder, but it's screened at the start by Nathan's infantry, so not much point trying to fire at that. My mortar's got eyes on the centre objective in the town. And the spotter can see another, so I've picked the right side, done my best, but I'm hanging it out there for so close with template. So I know I've got my 88 and my mortar. You can cover them with a template. So basically it's going to be a bit of a shootout to see how we get on. His 4 artillery observers on that flank also on his left, my right, close to 25-pounder. So we're going to have a bit of a shootout at the start. The remainder of the first turn spent manoeuvring infantry and vehicles forward, and I push my truck well forward, and I've got a large squad of FJ on board. It'll either be a distraction for him, or in case he misses, it could actually survive and achieve something viable with him. So I'm hoping that just the vehicle will get destroyed, and the infantry will survive. So in the event, the vehicle actually gets immobilised by the AVRE, and the squad disembarks in the dense oasis forest, which is immediately next to an objective. So we're in this position now where, if you call dense forest, and the TO's ruling on this forest was you couldn't see until you're within 1 inch of you couldn't see out or into of this forest, this oasis, unless you're within 1 inch of the edge of the forest. So you start getting this thing now but you can only charge someone if you can see them, and you can't come to within 1 inch of somebody. So I was like, okay, this mechanic's going to help me here. So basically I left the guys there, and I'm pretty sure that Nathan picked up on it as well, what had happened and the difficulties around clearing me from there, what they were going to be. So, I mean, I didn't decide on the rule. I was just utilising the rules, I suppose.
Yeah.
So the truck's immobilised. It's just sitting there. In turn 2, the AVRE hits but fails to pen the stew. It fails to hit also on the advance after it passes a test and shrugs a pin off. Nathan moves a Piat team over into broken ground towards sort of my axis of advance that the stew's going on. The 88 takes a shot at the infantry currently screening the 25-pounder. His 25-pounder themselves would have been 7s, but I miss. But so does a 25-pounder's counter battery fire. The mortar's trying to moving infantry, so its efforts at sniping on a 6 fail this time. I was pretty lucky throughout the tournament. My mortar team's pretty good at rolling 6s, but not this game. However, more on that mortar team later. Speaking of snipers, mine fails to kill the forward artillery observer, which would have been handy because it's only turn 1, and at the end of that turn, of course, he calls in artillery, doesn't he? And he calls in his artillery strike on the position of the 88, where the mortar is right next to it, as exactly as I've expected.
Yep.
So, I haven't achieved anything really with those, and I was hoping to destroy the artillery observer before he managed to do that, but no dice. So, turn 3, the artillery comes in, destroys the 88 completely, and kills 2 of the 3 guys on the mortar team.
Okay, wow, that's really set you back on that. Set you back then, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I was hoping he might roll a delay or something on that artillery, and I might squeeze in one more turn and have some effect, but there we go. So, luckily on the mortar team, the last guy stays alive, and he passes his test.
Right.
So he's there manning his mortar with line of sight with his indirect fire weapon onto the objective, the centre objective in town. But now he's a small squad.
Yep.
Could come in handy.
All right. Okay.
So he's
Almost.
a small squad behind hard cover, with line of sight with a mortar ranging in, basically, or can range in on a unit that's occupying objective. So yeah, handy. So the Avari still fails to penetrate the stew. It shrugs off the pin, advances, destroys Nathan's sniper team, which had run inside a building. It didn't destroy the building, but yeah, crushed the sniper team. Nathan's infantry is right up on the centre objectives now, behind low walls everywhere, especially on the centre objective itself. I've got my second largest Fallschirmjäger unit in the building opposite Seaman squad. As Nathan advances flamethrower up and goes to flame that building, I expect the worst, but no, he fails to flame me.
Right.
But
Yeah, that sounds like one of my flamethrower teams.
yeah, but he doesn't roll a 1, and they stick around. But in return, my squad's fire also fluffed their rolls to kill them, and the flamethrower's still alive, but his buddy's dead.
Okay.
So I advanced my green Fallschirmjäger up and destroy him, thank goodness, and was pretty happy to see him dead, obviously.
Yep.
So Nathan's infantry whittled down my 5-man Fallschirmjäger squad, the veteran one, to 2 men previously, and now they're looking pretty useless. But I've got an SDKZ-7, which is sort of idling behind cover, behind the last building, out of line of sight on my side of the board. And, you know, vehicles always come in handy in objective-based missions, especially when they've got troops inside it. So I put my guy inside, put my last 2 guys right next to it with a view, because it's quite early in the game, to actually mounting up in it. And that becomes something that's going to get quite important too. The last 3 turns.
Not very often do you see people mount up in a vehicle during a game. Normally it's run up and get out, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these guys got duffed up so quickly that I had to think of what value they were going to give me in the rest of the game.
Yep.
And, potentially infantry mounted in a transport was where it was going to be. So,
yeah, that's right, because transport alone can't hold an objective. So even one guy in there would be enough if you can run them onto the objective at the end of the game.
Yeah, quite right. So the last turns are a sequence of important events. So Nathan advances infantry units up the square in the centre of the town, threatening that centre objective, but I whittle them down in numbers from my cover in the building with that 8-man squad. He brings his officer squad up as well, and we exchange fire between our officer units. To little effect, except I kill his officer's attendant. He leaves his infantry squad on that objective and ambush in the centre of the town, on the centre objective. And now they're on the objective, pinned from afar by the infantry squad on my extreme light flank, which is trying to pin him down, while they're trying to stay firmly within snatching distance of the right-hand objective in the open. So, yeah, it's coming down to the wire already. My sniper still fails to kill people, and now he's trying to kill the MMG, overlooking my right-hand objective, which is because it's in the open. I really, really want to destroy anything that's looking over that objective, because I've got a plan for those guys in that SDKZ-7. The MMG fires back. Of course, they failed to kill the sniper too.
Okay.
The AVRE fails to hit the stew, advances round the corner of the oasis to bring fire to bear on his squads in the town. Thinking, all good, but at this stage, his Piet team takes advantage and shoots my stew up the rear at the very extreme range it's got, and destroys it bang on top of the left-hand objective. So my stew is destroyed on top of that objective. Now,
Right.
because of where it is, the side of the objective, the side of the vehicle, is still allows infantry to come within 3 inches, so you can still claim that objective, even though the vehicle is impassable terrain. We can still claim that objective
From either side?
Yep.
Okay, yep.
So my large Volkswagen squad advanced out of the oasis where they were out of sight, and getting some vengeance to destroy the Piet team in return, and as well as one-shotting the Recce Bren carrier with its one-shot weapon, the Panzerfaust. So that's 2 more squads which I don't have to worry about being able to run over and claim the objective or give me pins or whittle me down or whatever. But I have now come out of the oasis within sight. It was, I suppose, 6 1 1/2 dozen of the other. I'm not too sure that was completely the right thing to do, but there we go. I've made my decision and I had to stick with it, and luckily it went pretty good. A further infantry squad of his advances, though, past the destroyed Bren carrier and starts causing some casualties on the HA squad. And it's also pinned horrifically after a hit on them by the AVRE. But what I have got, using the distance between the model rule, is I have, after I destroyed the Piet in close combat, as I withdrew towards the cover, I managed to get half my guys back into that oasis and half my guys are out of the oasis. So I can see people to charge them. So nearest to nearest, if I'm going that direction, I can charge people without going across difficult terrain, but I gain the effects of being in soft cover. Because half my squad's in there, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Interesting. Okay, yeah.
A small mention for my truck at this stage, which kept rallying and kept drawing fire. So I had, I think the AVRE took a turn shooting at it at one stage. And my truck stayed alive, kept rallying pins off it, and just stayed immobilized there while he shot at me. So that was quite handy.
Yep.
So I tried to do a big Hail Mary move to kill the crew of the 25-pounder. Don't really want any indirect fire weapons around, or direct fire as the case may be, with the Recce with the Kubelwagen, MG Kubelwagen. Hoping for a lucky dice pull, but all my dice were out before Nathan's. So I had to implement it too soon. And he had the Observer Squad's dice left and moved back towards his edge to SMG the bucket car to death with Fu and his, the Forward Observation Artillery Officer, and his one attendant.
Right, okay, yeah.
But it was also a secondary plan to keep the Observer away for being an additional unit that could get onto that objective, which is on my right flank. Because if he'd run that turn and then the next, it's another unit that I would have had to try and shoot off or combat or whatever to get him off the objective. So
yep.
Threw away a Kubelwagen, but remembering what the actual mission is, doesn't matter if the Kubelwagen lives or dies. What matters is those objectives.
Yep. Yeah, that's something that I always struggle with these games, with this particular scenario. I get caught up in the moment and I lose track of what the objective is, and I start wanted to shoot people and save people and do this and do that, and yeah, you got to just keep remembering what it's all about.
Yep. So final turn now. That large squad of infantry of Nathan's advanced onto the left-hand objective in the final turn early on. Volkswagen pass a rally, thank goodness, but they get a poor roll. Only remove a couple of pins after getting another from his fire. On the right flank objective, Nathan gets his early dice again, but he's got to stop shooting at the lone mortar man, who's been drawing his fire and basically causing a distraction. He's got to stop shooting in order to move on to objective through the copse of palm trees. So now he holds that. He's got one guy that's definitely holding that objective. He's 3 inches away, within that 3 inch, and another guy that's debatable. Is he or isn't he? Now, he knows, and I don't. Yeah? So now I decide what to do. So the most important person for me to kill on that board with my sniper is that guy that's definitely holding that objective.
Yep.
So I shoot him and I kill him.
Okay, good.
And then Nathan courteously shows me that the other guy is indeed within 3 inches. His MMG fails to kill my sniper again, but now he's used his dice. All his Overwatch dice basically in that part of the board have now been used. So now I've got more dice than him in the bag. And I've got the initiative.
Yep.
Now, at the same time, the next dice gets pulled out for my Mortarman. My lone Mortarman hits Nathan's infantry squad behind the wall on the center objective and kills 6 guys.
Wow.
They check, and just because of Nathan's officer being there, they pass. I was like, damn it, I couldn't land the template on the officer and still fulfill the maximum models requirement on the target unit.
Yeah,
So
right.
I couldn't do both, which is another thing I was hoping for.
Yep.
But that lone mortar man has been a legend. So now the final play's in motion. So I run my green Fallschirmjäger through the streets to the left to take cover behind the stew wreckage and contest that objective.
Yep.
With my next dice, my squad advances out of the building. Yep. Up to the enemy's cover on that center objective, negating the wall's modifier for hard cover, and just open fire on that unit and destroy them. While we're definitely on it ourselves. We
Right.
measure Nathan's officer distance as well, and he's in range too. So now we've got 2 contested objectives.
Yep. Yep.
So here's the money shot. The SDK's 7 with a 2 veteran Fallschirmjäger aboard, revs its engines and powers forward across the open ground towards a right-hand objective. It's currently being held by Nathan's infantry. I measure its run move exactly, and I look up and I say, I think it's short. And we get the tape measure, and we measure it, and my eyes need laser range finding calibration because I'm the exact same distance away from the objective as his rifleman, and we're both contesting it.
Right. Okay.
So all 3 objectives are contested, and the game's a draw, dead draw.
Wow. That's freakishly equal, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it was
Oh,
good. It was a great game.
Sounded like fun though.
Yeah, it was really good. Really good. And we both agreed that it was a really good game. So that's the end of the 2 days. Fantastic event. Everyone had a great time. Met some great guys that I hadn't met before from Invercargill, Timaru. It was a fantastic couple of days. Finished up. Nathan got Best Allied General. I was lucky enough to take home Best Axis General. So I was obviously really happy with that. Now I finally won. Having coming third with that FJ list before, I've now finally won with them. So yeah, nice to get another podium finish, and more importantly, enjoy 5 great games.
Yeah, sounded like heaps of fun. Sounded really, really great. Yeah, great descriptions. Very evocative. Revving the engine of the SDK7 and powering into town.
Yeah,
I like it.
I was something I was even more happy with is on day 2 we'd laid our armies out for best army voting by all players, and I was fortunate enough and really appreciate the guys saying this. I comprehensively took home best painted army for the Tropical Fallschirmjäger as well. So I walked away with a prize that, quite frankly, I think I was even prouder of that than I was of the best general for the Axis.
No, that's fantastic. Yeah, you said that some of the other armies and that were pretty well painted, but your Fallschirmjäger guys are definitely they're fantastic. I think it helps that the uniforms are so good too, aren't they? And the models are so good as well. There's lots of detail, and you can really paint them up. You can really have a ball with it. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, thanks. I was playing with all Perry's miniatures. The infantry is all Perry's and offensive miniatures. So I think it's a Rubicon, Stu, Warlord, SDK set a resin one, and so all these things have gone together really well, and I think they're great models. So they sort of reward the effort you put into them, I think, due to their detail by showing up really nicely when you're done. And yeah, thank you everybody. I was really, really proud of that. That means more to me than best general.
Great stuff. Oh, that's really great. Sounds like a fantastic time. If I ever have time, if I can ever swing out, I'd love to come to NZ and take part in one of you guys' tournaments, because it sounds like they're really well organised, really well supported, and just generally a whole bunch of fun. So yeah, it sounds good.
Well, we have got one at our club at Easter, but I'm supposed to be working. But you're over here on holiday. Maybe you could go.
Yeah, maybe. Although I think
I don't think you get a pass from Whangarei, where your family is, left there on holiday as you desert them to go down to Christchurch for wargaming.
No, we've already had words about that because Valhallagames are definitely getting in a game. But I'll have to negotiate something to take out that time from family time. So yeah, it's fine. What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
Yep. Well, that's great, Dan. Well, should we have a little bit of a break now, and then we'll come back for another chat after that?
Yeah, let's do that. Thanks very much. Hope I haven't bored you people at home, and hope you enjoyed that recounting of the tournament. Let's go and get a drink, and we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. See you soon.
Boss? Boss?
Yeah?
Boss, ain't you going to bed?
Not right now.
Ain't you planning on going to bed in the near future?
No.
You ever going to bed?
No.
Well, I ain't sleepy either.
Good, then have a drink.
No, not me,
Well,
boss.
don't have a drink.
Boss, let's get out of here.
No, sir. I'm waiting for a lady.
Please, boss, let's go. Ain't nothing but trouble for you here.
Coming back? I know she's coming back.
We'll take the car and drive all night. We'll get drunk. We'll go fishing and stay away until she's
Shut
gone.
up and go home, will you?
No, sir. I'm staying right here.
I grab Ugarte, then she walks in. Well, that's the way it goes. One in, one out. Sam,
Yes, boss.
it's December 1941 in Casablanca. What time is it in New York?
What? My watch stopped.
I bet they're asleep in New York. I bet they're asleep all over America. Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into mine. What's that you're playing?
Oh, just a little something on my own.
Oh, stop it. You know what I want to hear.
No, don't.
You played it for her, you play it for me.
Well, I don't think I can remember.
If she can stand it, I can. Play it.
Yes, boss.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, including you, Rex. Hope you got something to wet your whistle after listening to me for all that long. You're a patient man.
Yeah, I did. I had some lunch, Dan. I needed sustenance. Had some lunch. Had some real health food, as you can only imagine. And I'm ready to go now.
Nice. All right, then. Well, I guess this podcast is about looking back and looking forward with 2020 vision. So what plans do we have for this year? Rex, would you like to tell us about some plans and aspirations for this year? Maybe we tie it towards, I guess, our streams of sharing our hobby with the people out there, our lovely listeners and viewers. So maybe we tie it towards a little bit of our stuff, but mostly towards our YouTube channel and our podcast.
Yeah, sure. So I've got a stack of stuff that I'm wanting to do for my own hobby and my own games and all that, but plenty of time for talking about that in future episodes and as we go. But the big thing that I just wanted to talk about this time is the Kickstarter, Dan.
Yeah.
Release of the Kraken. You weren't expecting that, were you?
No, I wasn't.
So let's premise this with something first. We can't tell you what it's about just yet. But we can tell you that we are going to do one. Do you want to add anything, Dan?
Yeah, for sure. So we're not expecting to make millions out of this. This is just a way to get a product out there that has your guys' backing, and we know sort of approximate numbers of the product that we're going to produce, and it has the ability to get bigger depending on your enthusiasm for it. But we're looking forward to it. We can't tell you too much now, so I'll try to avoid spiraling into a non-descriptive description, I guess.
Yeah, and we're talking about 2020 for it. We'll just have to see how that goes. We don't want to push it too close up to Christmas, but We don't want to be one of those guys that have a pie in the sky idea and say, hey, we're doing a Kickstarter, just support us. We've got a fair bit of the content already, and we want to get a lot more, and then we want to make sure that our costs are going to be covered and all that type of thing. And then we'll launch the Kickstarter with much fanfare and exuberance, and then hopefully that'll happen this year. And we'll have a great product, which mainly for me, it's just a matter of sharing the love. If we can make a couple of dollars, that's great. But if we can cover our costs to make Project Z, let's call it, and get a really great result, which we can have one each, and then everybody that listens to Valhallagames can grab one as well, and I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah, for sure, and hopefully the passion's coming through, and that's the reason why we're doing it. And the product, we will only be happy if the product shows that as well. So just to be a little bit specific, it is a World War II project. It is obviously a wargaming project, and yeah, it's going to be something that I just want to produce it, just like you, Rex, to share the love and have something to go. Me and my brother Rex made that. And other people were interested in it too, and they helped us make it. And then we can leave that for our kids or whatever the case is, and they can go, huh, your granddad Rex did that, or your granddad Danny did that, or whatever. And yeah, just something to look back on and be proud of. We're not trying to make money on it, create a business from it. We're trying to, I guess, if we make money, it'd just be enough to maybe pay for things that we're going to have to look at this year to improve the quality of our channel, which we'll go on to in a minute probably.
Yep, that sounds good, Dan. I think that's probably about enough, unless you've got anything else you want to add. Just wanted to give people a bit of a taster that something's on the way, and more will be revealed in due course. Yeah,
for sure. So talking about using possible funds to improve our channel, I suppose that segues into some more things you might have for our channel. Go for it, Rex.
Yeah, so it is interesting to see what is popular and what is perhaps popular or perhaps not popular, or we don't really know. Obviously, we get a fairly large number of people listening to the podcast every month, or probably bi-monthly, I guess. We probably do it in reality. But we don't get a lot of feedback from those people, so it's hard to know whether they're really enjoying it, or whether it's, whether we could improve, or whether we could do things differently, or whether people want shorter episodes or more content or more specials or more just blah, blah, blah. So if you are listening to this podcast, either by YouTube or in your podcast app, then let us know what you'd like, and let us know that you are enjoying it. We know people are enjoying it. We know people are listening, but we don't have any more feedback than that. But on the flip side, on the YouTube channel, we get a lot of feedback. We get a lot of people all over the world sending us emails, wishing us Merry Christmas, saying, "Hey guys, we're getting back together to do another video," and that's really great for us. And again, we're not really, we're not in it to make money. We're not be YouTube sensations. We just want to share the love and enthusiasm for a hobby that we're passionate about. So that's, I guess, where I wanted to go forward with. Does that sound about right for you, Dan, before I start on a couple of suggestions that I have?
Yeah, it does. I mean, we're in the channel ready to share with each other, and then keep ourselves enthused by, I suppose, setting ourselves goals. And if people are enthusiastic about our stuff, then it keeps us going. I mean, I've just set a crazy goal for painting stuff over Christmas, and it looks like I've gone full a bit short because I'm being sent away now with the army for a week. But just setting those really high bars has got me to do loads more than I would have done. And it's encouragement about publicly setting that and then striving to achieve it that really helps us get there and improve ourselves.
Yeah. So I've got a number of projects on the go in terms of content for YouTube. I've got one that I'm calling the Perfect Terrain Tile, or let's say my attempt at the perfect terrain tile. And I've used a whole lot of techniques and things that I've never used before. And spoiler alert, there's a hill involved, and some rocks and things. So I've got that partly filmed. I just need to actually finish the project before I get it live. I've got another one on building terrain tiles with video of me out there with the tools and the drop saw and doing all that. And I think that's going to be great for people to have a look at. I'd like to do a video on my gaming table and a little bit about the construction of my gaming table. We've been asked specifically multiple times about how to build a medium-sized hill, haven't we, Dan?
Yeah, we have. Not sure that it's entirely medium, but it kept things under wraps until we could reveal it in our Assault on Johnny 1 feature, didn't it?
Yeah. So we've used, when we built that, we used I think a unique method of doing it, because my 3 criteria were: 1, it had to look good; 2, it had to be fast to build; and 3, it had to be cheap, because I'm cheap. And I think I hit all those, and with your help, we got it finished off, and that one stars in our one of our Battle for Primasoli Bridge campaign videos, which you'll see on the YouTube channel, and that's been definitely popular. So there's been requests for lots and lots of things, but as well as that, I'd like to do some more how-to videos. Some stuff, I guess, a similar format to what the Kings of War one that I did. A little bit more FaceTime, so people can sort of see what we're about, see what we're up to, and I guess just carry over some of that enthusiasm that we have in the podcast over into the YouTube channel in terms of explaining things and, hey, look at this, and this is great, and see what I did here. This was a terrible mistake, and I think we've got some interesting content coming up from my perspective. Anyway, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think so. Look, I'm going to try and invest some money in a tripod here. I don't think I do too bad for handheld stuff, and I'm zooming and panning around and stuff like that. But you guys deserve to be able to see stuff on the YouTube channel with none of that shutter and bouncing about involved. And possibly some extra microphones and stuff like that involved in this podcast as well, for people who are just enjoying listening to the podcast as well. So those are some ideas from me. I've got loads of ideas that I want to deliver for you guys on YouTube, and some ideas as well on podcasts too. So you guys and podcasts can listen to some more, and not the least of which is a little bit more historical content. I know people enjoyed listening to the historical podcast on Primasoli Bridge we did, and how that evolved across the 2 streams of podcast and our YouTube channel involved in our hobby, and just hoping to do that again for some more stuff this year.
Well, that's right, because I'm working on that historical segment myself, Project X, which we can't disclose yet. Loose lips sink ships. But so that's my next historical one, and I know you've got something on the way as well.
Project Y. So now I've got X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
Which sounds a bit like a 1980s band, but it's we're pretty far away from being Simon Le Bon, Duran Duran looking, or even Westlife or boy band looking. So you have to put up some pretty ugly faces we're trying not to show too often in our projects.
Yep, I like that plan. But another thing that I'd like to do, Dan, on the podcast is actually do some interviews. So we've been threatening a few people. There's a couple of people that have been. We got one that we want to do on terrain building with a guy that we've got in mind for that. And then there's another guy that has done a couple of Warlord GTs. Which is way out of our realm of experience. So we're looking forward to doing that. And we have the technology. It's just a matter of all having the time and synchronizing up with our time zones, which is pretty tricky. But I've got at least 3 people that I'd like to interview this year as a start already, let alone without thinking about anybody else. So I think it'd be nice to get someone on, fresh perspective. Get a chance to chat about other people, pick their brains. Do you think that might go well, Dan?
That'd go great. And I think we know some people in Tasmania as well that I'd love to get on this year and have a chat to. Maybe even one day we must arrange trying to meet them somewhere for a game at one of these events, or maybe we should hop on a plane and go to Tasmania.
Yeah, it does sound like a good idea. I'll have to see if I can get a pass for that one, but yeah, that sounds good. Definitely, that's one of the ones that I was speaking of. So I'll need to do some organising with that for sure. Another thing that I'd like to do with the podcast is get a bit of audience participation. Again, as we've mentioned in the YouTube channel, we get plenty of comments. But here you go. I'm going to stick this right out here. If you record something,
audience participation. So there's one for every one of you to take home underneath your seats. Yay!
Yep, that's exactly right. And you get a car, and you get a car. So we talked about a speak pipe type of concept, which for those that you don't know it just allows you to go to a webpage, click on a link, record a bit of a hi, how you going, Rex and Dan, and send it over to us as a bit of feedback. And if they're useful or they have an interesting perspective, maybe we can even place them on the podcast and do a mailbag sort of a thing.
Yeah, I'd really like that. I'd love to do a Q&A podcast just dedicated to people's Q&A. So if you're listening on this podcast, give us an email at valhallagames@hotmail.co.nz.
Or go to the webpage, valhallagames.net, go to the Contact Us page, and then type your email in there. Or
this is a triple threat, I like it. Or go, if you're listening on our YouTube, just leave a message on here. So I'd really like to collate all the questions you've got and all the points you got about what you'd like to see or whatever, or questions you got about, I don't know, what's our favourite brand of underwear we wear or something like that. And we'll collate them all together and we'll have like a Q&A part of our podcast. And I don't think we'd have enough for an entire podcast on it unless we're particularly secretive individuals that people are curious about.
Yeah, it's a good idea. So that's one. Send us a mail or leave us a comment or however you want to get to us. Carry pigeon. But as well as that, if you want to record something, we don't have the SpeakPipe product kind of set up yet. But if you want to record something just quickly with a microphone or record it on your smartphone or whatever, email it across to us. If we think it's interesting, we'll play it on the podcast and have a chat about it. And if not, then it's just great to hear from you.
Yeah, great. So anyone who answers to this, sends us an email, all those sorts of stuff at the moment. We'll collate them and then reply via this means. So unlike normally where I'd like to think we are excellent at getting back to you with replies, we won't actually reply on there. We'll do a communal reply. We'll give you a shout out about what your name and all that sort of stuff, and then we'll talk about it on air.
All right, and because we're asking people to do something, anybody, first person that goes on air, I'll send you a couple of my resin cast machine gun emplacements that fit a 60mm base, and a couple of resin cast fuel drums in there as well. Send you that anywhere in the world. How about that, Dan?
Oh, bonus. Good man. Well done.
And you never know if somebody actually listens to a podcast that's got stuff, and by stuff I mean plastic or metal, and if they decide to send us some, which so far hasn't happened, but I live in hope, then maybe we can do some more giveaways like that as well.
I'd love to review some stuff. I'm not talking about big companies. So if you're a small company out there and you're wanting something reviewed, and I'm not asking for it for free, if you've got something coming out that is a bit boutique or something, and you're wanting to get the message out there, I'd be happy to pay for it if it's an advanced copy or something. Get it in our hands and review it on YouTube or whatever. Hey, if you want to send it for free, then but we're not asking for that. That's not what we're here for. I'd just love to get some stuff early. We've done some stuff like that before for various manufacturers. Managed to score Rex some pretty exclusive stuff that he did a great job of painting up, and we love shouting out for people. So yeah, if you've got something that's coming out, let us know. Let us know how much it is or whatever, and if it's my type of stuff, I'll pay you for it, and we'll review it and paint it up and show people. Sounds
good. Another thing that I'd like to talk about, we'll see if we can do, Dan. As you know, I bought 3 softbox lights for better lighting for our games when we do get together. I bought an extra video camera and an external microphone now, so reasonably well set up for video. As we've said before, for a couple of guys that run a YouTube channel, we do seem to find that video is constantly surprises us how difficult it is to get excellent video of little tiny things, often in dark environments. So that hopefully that'll improve. But I have this dream one day, Dan, that I'm going to live stream some games.
Yeah, it would be great. It'd be great if we could somehow do that, or if we could somehow involve that, so we can actually play each other across the Tasman with each other. So that would be fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of gaming sites that mainly handle video gaming and live streaming of video gaming, so that tens and twenties and hundreds of people can watch in on the games and give their 2 cents, give their advice. So if they can do it on a video game stream, there's no reason that I can't work out some way of doing it. A multicam view with a couple of webcams and the DSLR and the video camera coming from all different angles, hanging from the roof, line of sight, direct view, that sort of thing. So yeah, you never know. You never know what we can come up with.
For sure. One hope for me this year is, just as a point of satisfaction and pride, is again, we've never set this stuff up for likes or views or whatever, but it's been really invigorating and filled me full of enthusiasm to do stuff, as I said earlier. And the number of subscribers we got, like we're getting on 600 subscribers now, which is really small, but considering we weren't after subscribers when we started, I'm really happy. So just a point of pride and a goal. I'd love to get to 1,000 subscribers this year on our YouTube channel. It's much harder to see what's going on the podcast, but the two are growing hand in hand, so that would be a goal for me. So if you haven't subscribed to us already on YouTube, or subscribe to us on your favourite podcast app, then please do that. And if you're just on podcast, go over to YouTube and find us, because I can pretty much guarantee with our slow release date, we're certainly not going to be pestering you every day or two with things. And I'd love to be able to share more stuff with you.
Yeah, for sure. And some more how-to videos, I think it would be a good thing to do as well. As I said, I've got the up-and-coming ones for that terrain. I've got a couple of paint guides up on the website, Valhallagames.net, and then go to downloads. I'd like to get up a little bit more stuff there as well. There's plenty that we can pass on to people. A lot of it's stolen and regurgitated and from other people, from the train set guys and the great unwashed. I saw a video only yesterday from guys he's a train set guy, and he was doing brick buildings and foam board.
Right.
Which, nothing special about that. That's a bit of a thing right now. Everybody's doing brick buildings and foam board and carving it out and all that. But he had two particular techniques that I've never ever seen before, and I can tell you that I've watched a lot of videos on bricks and foam board and foam board construction. So now that I've got those, they're mine. I own them. Well, not really, but I can steal them, and happy to pass them on to you guys.
Good. So I prefer the terminology borrowed with pride.
Absolutely. And I'll link back to the original guy, but I'm sure he probably got it from somebody else as well. So it's just sharing the love.
Exactly. All right, Rex, is there anything else we want to share with people about the coming year?
No, not really. This is podcast number 10. We've been around for a couple of years now. I think it's time to really dig in and upgrade and improve and get more out there, and I'm really, really keen to do that. And once again, just give us your feedback. What do you want? People have asked for, Dan, how do you put together your scenarios? People have asked me how I build my terrain. And don't think that because we haven't done it yet, it won't be coming, because if you've asked for it, we'll definitely do it if we can.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm looking forward to this year, another year of sharing stuff with my brother, having fun, and all the lovely people that we've either met sort of in conversation with online, and they turned into some physical sort of encounters in regards to turning up to Wargames events and stuff like that, events days, and being invited to people's houses. So lucky. And playing war games, just having fun with people, and it's really just all boils back to community, doesn't it?
It does. It does, and certainly we're having a good time. Our only regret is that we don't live in the same country, and it's tricky for us to get together and get those really premium games recorded. But we're going to do some more. We've been asked for more games, so we're going to do more of our medium games with other people and various other places that we do them. And then obviously when we do get together, which will be later on this year, we'll get a couple of real premium games recorded with all of our new tech and our newfound editing skills, and we'll get some more of those premium games for you later on this year for sure.
Yeah, sounds good. All right then, everyone. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. Hope 2019 was good for you. Hope the holidays were great. You were safe. Hope Santa brought something plastic and pewter for you in his, or maybe MDF in a Santa sack for you. So I hope you're looking forward to this year as much as us. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for being our friends and part of our community in the great wargaming hobby. So thanks for that. Have a fantastic start to your year. We'll be back soon with some more content both on YouTube and on the blog, on our website, and on the podcast here. And we'll see you soon.
I love it. All right, Rex out.
Stay classy and stay safe, Australia.
Yeah, try and stay out of the rain that's falling now, as opposed to the fire debris that was falling last week. Australia, a land of drought and plenty. Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
But what about us?
We'll always have Paris. We didn't have. We lost it until you came to Casablanca. We got it back last night.
When I said I would never leave you.
And you never will. But I've got a job to do, too. Where I'm going, you can't follow. What I've got to do, you can't be any part of. Ilse, I'm no good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. Someday you'll understand that. Now. Here's looking at you, kid.